Hi, welcome back guys. This is your friend, the MHA What If with another fanfiction. This is the first part of What If Deku Had Mirio as a Friend? All credits for this video go to their respective authors, so please support the real author. Check out the link in the description for more details. Please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now let's get into the fanfic. For years ago. Kaken, leave me alone already. I already told you I couldn't show you my quirk because it's against the law to use quirks in public without a hero license. A young Midoriya cries at a blonde boy with explosive hands. Bullshit, Deku, we all know you're just using that excuse as a cop-out to avoid the fact that you really are just quirkless. Smirking, the boy continues, I bet that's really how your mom died. She couldn't handle having a quirkless little Deku, so she killed herself. The boy laughs while his hands start to spark, readying himself to beat the cowering boy in front of him. Mouth aghast at the fact his former childhood friend would ever say such a thing, the young boy clenches his fist, stopping himself from attacking the boy in front of him. Instead, fighting back with his words. Shut up, Kaken, you know my mom died from that villain attack last year. Tears of anger spilling, Izuku continues, and she loved me. Something you wouldn't know about since your mom doesn't at all. I doubt she even wanted you with the way she constantly hits you. Izuku can't help but yell now, a burst of bravery washing over him as he spouts back insults to Bakugo, stunning the blonde momentarily from being spoken back to by the so-called quirkless boy. Both are silent, taking in what the other has said. That is until Midoriya notices Kaken's reddened face and angered expression. I know I shouldn't have said that about his mom, but he shouldn't have implied it first, Midoriya thinks, still watching the childhood bully. Foaming at the mouth, Bakugo readies his hands to kill Deku for even daring to insinuate his mother didn't love him. He ignores the fact he just suggested the same thing to the boy in front of him because he's quirkless, saying the latter doesn't apply to him. Not really. Deku, I'm gonna count to 0, then I'm gonna kick your ass, got it? Cracking his knuckles with a vicious smile on his face, Bakugo ignites his hand, aiming towards his target. Ready? An angry Bakugo yelps at seeing a boy pop up from the ground. Hold on just a second. Appearing from the ground is a grinning Tin copycat, who steps in front of Midoriya just in time to stop the incoming hit from Bakugo. Who the hell are you, cartoon face? Bakugo yells, halting his attack just in time to avoid hurting a random person who could cause a mark on his perfect record. Not that he really cares, but even one mark could damage his chances of getting into the best hero school in all of Japan. I am Mirio Togata. Now what's going on here? The Tin wannabe says, smiling. However, this guy is far from happy. Bakugo has seen smiles like this before, and the boy in front of him is far from cheerful. There's hot anger underneath that smile. He's learned to tell the difference from seeing his mom pissed off at him, and she really means it. He realizes he's taken too long examining the boy defending Deku when the kid, Mirio, takes a step closer to him. Let me ask again, what's going here? Mirio asks, smiling even wider now. All of a sudden Bakugo feels sweat go down his back, and his hands twitching, which is a new feeling for him. He can't describe what he's feeling. Fear, it's fear, but he knows he doesn't like it. Bakugo has fought bigger kids than this blondie before, defeated multiple people with his quirk no problem, but for some reason he thinks, no, feels like this guy may be out of his league. So, he does the only logical thing he can think of now and lies, knowing that would be better than trying to fight the guy. TC, stupid Deku here and I were just playing hero and villain. He fell while I was trying to catch him and then started crying like a baby. Bakugo lies easily, not a stutter or stall in his speech. For a solid minute, nothing happens and Bakugo thinks he's going to get off, that perhaps the guy believed what he said. Then he sees in the boy's eyes he isn't buying it. That's funny because I could have sworn you were going to blow this boy's face off with your explosive quirk. Right after you told him his mother killed herself because, what was it? Oh yes, he was quirkless. The seemingly harmless, but he knows probably not, boy says. There's no hesitation when Bakugo runs away from his opponent for the first time in his life. Izuku is still laying on the ground though, astonished by what he's witnessed. For the first time ever, someone was standing up to Kaken. No one has ever done this, and for him no less. He can see the moment Bakugo realizes he made a mistake trying to lie to Mirio because there's some sort of underlying strength to him even if he is just a few years older. The air around them tenses and even he feels sweat beating down his brow. The moment Bakugo runs away is when Izuku realizes this is a kid not to be messed with. This boy, Mirio, he's what a hero is supposed to be. It's then that Izuku realizes something. All Might may be his idol, but Mirio is his hero. Can you tell me where you live so I can tell your dad what happened? The boy, now identified as Mirio, asks. Izuku looks down because it was already brought up with Bakugo, but just being reminded, even by accident, by Mirio that he has no parents to go to stings a lot. I don't have any. My mom's dead and my dad gave me up, Izuku says, downtrodden by what he's revealed. Sighing, Izuku looks at the time and is reminded he has a curfew for the orphanage. He knows they won't care one way or another if he shows up, but still he's tired and wants to go to bed. Anyways, thanks for helping me with Kaken, but I have to go if I want to make it back in time to the orphanage. Waving goodbye, both kids see each other off. Izuku is halfway to the orphanage when he realizes he's being followed. He's always had great analyzing skills and was very perceptive. He needed to if wanted to avoid his bullies, but trying to pinpoint the person following him just proves futile since every time he looks around there's no one in sight. He continues this way until he hears shuffling behind him, and turning around quickly, he's able to see someone sink into the ground just in time, piece things together. Earlier the boy who helped him, Mirio, had a quirk that let him phase in and out, and when putting 2 and 2 together, Izuku connects that he must be the one following him. For a moment, Izuku feels fuzzy. Then it passes. It continues for a week when finally, Izuku addresses it. Excuse me, Mirio-san. I know you're there. The pause. When nothing, or rather no one responds, Izuku thinks that perhaps he was wrong the entire time. Maybe he made up Mirio wanting to spend time with him because he has no one else. Stupid, why would anyone want to hang out with you? You're just an orphan boy who won't show your quirk? Izuku banishes those thoughts as soon as those come, once he sees Mirio pop out from the ground in his birthday suit, sheepish. Oh, hey Midoriya-san. Sorry I took so long, one of the reasons I didn't want to pop out of the ground, you know. Chuckling, Mirio asks if Midoriya happens to have any spare pants, which since he skipped PD he did. They're a little tight, but they'll have to do, Mirio says with a thumbs up at the younger boy. Mirio-san, why have you been following me for the past week? Izuku bluntly asks as they get to the halfway mark to the orphanage. He thinks it's only because Mirio feels bad for him, but a smaller, more hopeful part of him says he's wrong. Stop being so negative for once, Izuku. Not all people are like Kaken, his mind tells. Mirio stops where he is and looks at Izuku, frowning for a moment. He looks like he can't decide whether he wants to tell the truth or not until he finally opens his mouth and reveals the reason why he's been following him the entire time. When I saw that Bakugo kid beating you up, I knew I had to step in because that's what a hero would do. And seeing all those people just pass you by really angered me. Pausing, Mirio looks to Izuku, frowning, but then after you left I followed, because I wanted to speak to you more about what you said. I was curious about you. Mirio finishes, looking a little embarrassed at being noisy but also not since he helped the smaller boy out. Thinking back, Izuku tries to recall what all he said, then it hits him. Oh, that? Yeah, no one believes me, but I have a quirk. It's really cool too. Izuku's eyes shine as he starts to talk about the other boy, seeing how excited he is to describe it. It's a mixture of my dad and my mom's, fire and telekinesis, so I'll definitely be a cool pro hero like All Might's. He finishes, fist in the air. Whoa, a dual quirk sounds strong, Midoriya-san. What's it called? Mirio says with stars in his eyes at the younger kid. And why does no one else know about this? Mirio asks, already excited about finding out more this boy's quirk. Well, it's pyrokinesis, you know I can control and create fire. And I can't use it since I don't have a hero's license. It's illegal to use your quirk in public without 1 inch, Izuku states without a care. Mirio looks at the small child in front of him in awe. The quirk he told him about is powerful, but he'll need to train it to be able to control it. From what he's heard, the boy has no friends because they don't know about this. Which brings Mirio to his offer. That's it, Izuku. Midoriya, I can already see that you have an amazing quirk, however unless you train it you won't be able to get into you alongside me, so we need to work out and train our quirks to the max to do that. Wait, how'd you know I wanted to go to you? Izuku says, surprised he knew. Giving off another smile, Mirio replies, "You said you wanted to be like All Might, as do I, and All Might's an alumni of you." "I just put two and two together," Mirio says, laughing. "Okay, but I can't train my quirk," Izuku tries to protest. "In public, my friend, but in the confines of a secret place, which I already know a place, we can do all the destruction and testing of just how powerful you and I really are, and we'll buff you and me up in the meantime. How about it? You buddies?" Mirio says, putting his hand out. The minute Izuku hears Mirio call him a friend, tears are threatening to come out of his eyes. For the briefest moments, Izuku cherishes those words because he hasn't heard anyone call him that in years. Tears finally fall when Mirio declares them buddies. It's then Izuku decides that for Mirio he'll bend the rules if it'll mean train together, so they can get into together. "Yeah, sniff buddies," Izuku says. "Yeah, power." Mirio yells the first of many powers. "Power?" Izuku murmurs. Unsure of where the phrase came from, Izuku decides he doesn't care and instead decides to roll with it, following Mirio's example with a just as loud "power," beginning two friends' journey to UA. "Izuku." "Yeah, Mirio? You know I have my entrance exam next year, right?" Mirio says, looking to the younger boy lying next to him on the sandy beach covered in junk. While Izuku looks confused at the question, he knows exactly what Mirio is talking about. It's only what they've been working towards the past 4 years for. Well, Izuku still has a few more years until he can apply, but that doesn't mean he can't still help his hero while also preparing himself to meet him there. "Yeah, it's why we've been training," Izuku answers, wondering as to why Mirio is bringing this up. This isn't the first time he's brought up UA or the entrance exam since we started training, but usually he doesn't sound so serious about it, Izuku thinks. "Huh, of course it is. I was the one who recommended it," Mirio says, playfully punching the younger one's shoulder, causing a flinch. "But what I'm trying to say is if I want to get in, I'm gonna need to train harder than ever." Mirio says, fist clenched, a determined look in his eye. "My quirk is still very dangerous, and even after all these years I have a lot to learn about permeation." Mirio looks back to when he and Izuku had just started training. Although he already had a good handle on his quirk, there were times when it would randomly activate, and he would fall into the ground while walking, or occasionally while at school his clothes would fall off because he would become intangible. Now I can control my quirk after training with Izuku so much, but it's still not good enough. I still have slip UPS at school and home, Mirio thinks. Even if we have trained relentlessly these past few years, I'm still not where I want to be. I may be able to control it, but I'm still not at my best. He's confused at first because he thought that's what they were doing this entire time, when they were together on the beach, getting up at god-awful hours, jogging, sparring, all to prepare the two of them for UA. But now as he listens to his speech, he thinks he might be wrong. Maybe now's the time where he leaves him like everyone else. He's going to tell him he needs to train alone now. Maybe Izuku's been more of a hindrance than a help. He continues to think of negative things until he notices Mirio's worried face. "Izuku, did you hear anything I said?" the cartoon-faced boy asks. Mirio hasn't seen Izuku this worried since that day he first confronted him. Embarrassed of his reaction, Izuku answers honestly with a no. "Oh, that's okay. I said that since I'll need to be focused more, I decided our current training routine isn't going to cut it, so I created us a new one," Mirio says happily as he magically pulls a thick pile of paper from his backpack. "Now I know this may be daunting at first, but if we want to get in and be the best heroes ever, then we need to stick to it. Power, right?" "Power," Izuku says blindly, not really registering what's coming out of his mouth at the moment. He can barely make out what Mirio's saying, only managing to hear the important parts of his speech, such as the need to focus more. "There's a new routine involved, and there's still in us," Izuku notes. Turns out he was wrong about Mirio wanting to ditch him. His mind was just being a dick again. Izuku wants to cry, like really wants to cry, now that he knows he's not getting abandoned again. In the end he decides against it since this is a happy moment. He figures from how thick that packet Mirio is holding he'll be getting more training workouts piled onto him, which will probably end up with him more tired than he already is, but he'll make do if it means he can spend more time with his best friend. "Why, what's the workout?" Izuku manages to finally get out, somehow managing to hold in his tears. Something that surprises even Mirio, who has taken to carrying handkerchiefs on him, so he's prepared for Izuku's waterworks. I'm glad you asked. With my Mirio and Midoriya road to you, a workout routine will be fine-tuned to take on anything. Mirio says in his best hero voice and power pose, also taking note of his buddy's tears. Honestly, he's pretty sure he could create a lake with those tear ducts. Although their current workout routine was working out just fine, Mirio just wanted to create something special for the two since he knows he probably won't be around much when he starts UA. Call him cocky, but with all the training he and Izuku have done, he's confident he'll get in. He just wants to show Izuku how serious he is about the two of them getting into their dream school together, even if Izuku does have a few years to wait. When he looks back to Izuku, he sees him teary-eyed, smiling. You created this workout plan, just for us? Izuku says, trying to hide the crack in his voice, while also looking at the exercise plan. Flipping through, he sees how much effort was put into it, pointing at himself, then back to Mirio to verify the older boy meant the routine was for him. Of course, Knucklehead, hence the title on the cover. Mirio and Midoriya road to, laughing the boy continues, did you think I wouldn't do everything I could to ensure my little brother got into UA with me? Mirio says nonchalantly, ruffling his hair. When he turns his back to stretch, intentionally or not, Izuku finally lets his tears fall, fist clenching his chest. No one's considered him family in a long time, at least not since his mom died. Everyone in the orphanage either ignores him because he's quirkless or won't believe him when he says he has one. He keeps trying to tell them he technically can't show them for legal reasons, which he's stated multiple times, but they couldn't care less. Meanwhile, at school he's bullied for the same thing, with Bakugo leading the cavalry. Izuku was really surprised when Mirio stayed around helping him with his quirk and hanging out with him whenever he was alone. But since he and Mirio made a promise to become the best pro heroes ever, he guesses he shouldn't be. After all, heroes always keep their promises, and they were UA buddies after all. This may seem like just an exercise plan to Mirio, but it's much more to Izuku. When Mirio turns around, he sees Izuku is still distracted by the homemade workout and smiles. Izuku, were you buddies? Don't think I have forgotten? When Izuku finally meets his eyes, both unknowingly share a similar thought. That's why I must work hard to not let you down. 10 months before the entrance exam. Now just because I'm going to UA? Aren't you being a little cocky? Oh. Now let me finish, Mirio tuts before chopping Izuku on the head. As I was saying, just because I'm going to UA doesn't mean you can get away with kicking back and roasting marshmallows, got it? Mirio says, trying to glare at the younger boy, but with his face failing. Oh, come on, it was one time and you enjoyed those s'mores just as much as I did, Izuku says, going in for a punch to the stomach, before remembering what Mirio's quirk is and going right through the boy, falling on his face. Semantics, Izubro. What you need to know is how to convert our workouts so your Izuku knows what he's going to say and prepares himself. Power never gets stagnate. Mirio yells momentarily, finishing off in a normal tone. Your quirk is still developing, so you need to constantly train to keep up with it, Mirio nonchalantly says, ignoring the green-haired boy who just went through his body, already getting color-coded pages out. Flashing his signature smile at Izuku, who has yet to get off the ground, he starts to explain the logistics of the newly revised Mirio and Midoriya road to UA, the max power workout plan. After dusting himself off, Izuku tries to discreetly wipe his eyes because his best friend for the past almost 5 years is going to their dream school. Izuku knows Mirio still has the entrance exam to take, but he has no doubts that he'll get in. What kind of friend would I be if believe in him? All our hard work is paying off, Izuku thinks. But of course, he knew that meant Mirio's real training had just begun. Somewhere in the back of his mind, though, he thinks that this means the end of their journey together. Instead, Mirio is going to deem him not strong enough to keep up, and he would no longer be able to train alongside Mirio since they would be on different levels. Hell, they already are. In that moment, Izuku promises himself that while Mirio is away at school, that no matter what he'll get stronger, so he can stand by his side as an equal. I still have a few years till I can meet up with Mirio at UA, Izuku thinks while watching Mirio happily speak. And while I'm nowhere near where he is in terms of power, looking up he sees a smiling Mirio holding his hand out to pick up Izuku from the spot he's sitting at, where he fell. But again, semantics? I'll still work my hardest to catch up to you, big bro, just watch. Izuku smiles as he and his best friend begin their walk to Mirio's home for dinner before he heads back to the orphanage, A tradition that has gone on since they first met. Present. Wow. You're really strong, you just went vroom straight through that robot like it was nothing. A brunette speaks quickly to Mirio. After it went up in flames and you went to another one and another one. It was amazing. How'd you get so strong? You must have had a lot of help from trainers. Did you go to the gym a lot? Did you do workout videos? The name's Nijire Hado, but you can call me Nijire. In case you were wondering, by the ways, the shorter girl says with sparkles in her eyes. How that is even possible, Mirio thinks. Walking alongside our male protagonist is a hyperactive female who he happened to save during the entrance exam. Once the test ended, however, he noticed her following him and start to ask non-stop questions, reminding him of a certain green-haired buddy and his curious nature. Of course, he took to her in an instant. Hi, my name's Mirio Tagoda, and you can call me Mirio. And no, I only trained with one person, but he helped me a lot to get where I am today. Pausing to wink and give a thumbs up. We did, however, have one workout regimen that we stuck to, and it was helped me get so much power. Posing with an arm out for a moment. What was it, Mirio? A shy voice asks from behind Nijire. Despite already being good friends since grade school, he still hides behind the bubbly girl speaking. I remember when we were in school you would leave right after saying you were going to train, and left it at that. Smiling at one of his oldest friends, Tamaki Amajiki, Mirio remembers him as the boy he bumped into, yet the others started apologizing profusely. He couldn't help but befriend him to try and bring him out of his shell. He can't help but think that's why he might have taken in our other male protagonist of this story, but shrugs it off. To answer your question, Tamaki, it was called the Mirio and Midoriya Road to Yudare Max Power Workout. Giving a thumbs up for dramatic effect, Mirio continues, fine-tuned to prepare only the strongest for their journey to Yudare, Mirio says, smiling. Tapping her chin, Nijire thinks over Mirio's words, finally speaking up. If it was fine-tuned for only the strongest, why does it have yours and whoever Midoriya is names on it? Jumping up, accidentally activating her quirk, Nijire starts to ask more questions. What's so great about the workout regimen? Is it only for the strongest? Has anyone else tried it out? Can I try it out? Is Midoriya as strong as you? Is he your brother? Where is this Midoriya? Noticing her red face, Tamaki taps the blue-haired girl's back, signaling her to take a break from asking so many questions. Getting the hint, Nijire smiles apologetically to the blonde boy she's just befriended while waiting for his answers. Keeping up with the blue-haired girl seemed to be impossible for others, as he noticed while waiting for the entrance exam, but for a seasoned warrior like Mirio who has dealt with Izuku's mumbling, he's able to answer all her questions happily, ticking each one off his finger as he does. While also thanking his friend for the temporary reprieve of questions, Mirio can't help but think how much she reminds him of Izuku. I'm gonna keep her, Mirio proclaims to himself. Well, first off, Midoriya is my best friend / lil bro, and while he is strong, he's yet to beat me in a spar. Pausing mid-step to turn around and face Nijire, which brings me to your question about why it has our names on it. Blushing, Mirio rubs his head. We've been training together for years and made a promise when we were younger that we would get into Yudara together, now smiling at the memory, so the name just suits our goal, not to mention how strong it's made us, Mirio says, flexing. Yeah, can't deny that. You demolished those robots like they were plush toys. No doubt you got top scores on the entrance exam, Nijire answers, starting to ramble while mimicking karate chops. Yes. Your workout regimen with Midoriya shows? Tamaki whispers. How is he doing? He's doing pretty good. As you know, Tamaki, Izuburo may still be in middle school, but he's a shoe-in for Yude when he applies for the hero course. Mirio says, proudly pounding a fist to the chest. Oh, can we meet him? Do you have a picture? He sounds adorable. Is he actually your brother? You called him your best friend first. Which one is it? Nijire asks until she finally needs to take a breath. Well, actually, I've already met him, Tamaki says, raising his hand for some reason. Noticing this, he lowers it, slightly embarrassed but taking note that neither laughed at the motion. Pausing to look at the shorter girl, Mirio laughs a hearty laugh, realizing what he called Izuku. He can't believe he let the nickname slip so easily, but then again, Izuku really is just like a brother to him, and Tamaki already knows about his close bond with Izuku, seeing as on a few occasions he's joined them on their cheat days. Anything they've spent so much time with one another they might as well be. Smiling, Mirio decides to show her his favorite picture of them dressed as the Mario brothers from last Halloween, with him as Mario and Izuku as Luigi, rightly so. Nijire can't help but coo with the two boys in the picture cosplaying as iconic video game brothers, the adorableness being too much for her. They may not be related, but I can already tell he cares a lot for the younger boy. Oh my gosh, this picture is just too cute. I wonder if I could get a copy? Taking a break from her inner battle, Nijire notices something in the background of the picture. Who's that in the background with their head down looking away from the camera as though they don't want to be there? Nijire says, pointing at a dark figure in a purple outfit. Looking at the photo closer, Mirio's eyes bulge because he can't believe he almost forgot about the third person they invited out that day. Oh, that's Tamaki. He was Waluigi, a great fit for us, right? Izuku chose the outfits? Mirio says, smiling at their coordinated costumes. You're just saying that because you got to be Mario and say, it's me, Mirio, Tamaki says, looking away. Semantics? Mirio says, not denying Tamaki's statement, but also not agreeing, mainly for show. As the newly formed trio continue to walk out of the school grounds and exchange contact information, Mirio promises to introduce them to Izuku, officially, the next time they meet up. Well, I guess I just have to introduce Nijire, since Izuku's already met Tamaki a few times, but still having a group hangout would be nice, Mirio thinks. Knowing that despite how much Izuku likes his company, having others to talk to would do him good. He may not say it, but he knows Izuku still gets bullied, and now that he's going to Yuta, he won't be around to ward off the bullies as much as he wants to, especially that damn Bakugo kid. I know he says he doesn't need anyone else, but Nijire's personality would help him come out of his shell, and Tamaki, well, he and Tamaki have always been able to bond based off their mutual shyness around other people, Mirio thinks, laughing aloud to the comparisons he made. Yue hasn't even started and he's making more friends for him and Izuku. Present. We did it, Izuku. I think you mean you did it, a broccoli-haired boy says. I still have 2 more years till I meet you there, remember, Mirio. Izuku smiles. Semantics, Izuku, the older boy, now revealed as Mirio laughs, ruffling his hair. Me making it into you, means we are 1 step closer to you making it into you, How does that even make sense? Izuku says, trying to make sense of his logic. Shaking his head, he ruffles the younger boy's hair to explain to him his words. Easy. If our training was enough to get me in, then it'll be enough to get you in. Especially if you're still following our road to you, planned, grinning with his signature thumbs up. Izuku stayed silent after that because he honestly couldn't see the flaw in that logic. Smiling, Izuku nods his head, silently promising to Mirio that no matter what he'll get in now. Looking to the younger boy next to him, Mirio can't help but think about all the times they had together. He knows his friend still has a hard time while he's at school, especially since people still believe he's quirkless, but thankfully his Izaburo has grown tougher skin because of their time together. He can see it in the way he stands taller and hardly stutters anymore. His best friend has gotten stronger. You know, it feels like yesterday that we were lighting trash on fire and flashing the public. Izuku, Mirio says happily as he stares at the now cleared up beach. He and Izuku spent the last year cleaning while preparing him for the entrance exams. It was just yesterday, Mirio. Remember, I lit trash on fire to see if you could phase through it, causing you to flash that old couple by accident, because as it turns out you cannot, Izuku says, incredulous at the fact the older boy forgot. He must have forgotten over the excitement at getting into Yui. Shaking his head, Izuku decides to let it slide this time, already knowing there will be plenty more accidents he will have to let pass. Especially now with Nijire in their friend group. Geez, and I thought Mirio was hyper. Scratching the back of his head, Mirio blushes, belting out a loud laugh. Oh yeah, it was, wasn't it? Well, either way, we've come a long way from where we used to be with our quirks, right? Posing with his arm out, he looks to Izuku. Before, the most you could do was light a flame on your finger, and now you can lift trucks with them. Mirio excitedly yells, and now I can better handle phasing through objects, while doing a combo attack, he says while mimicking a karate chop. Come on, Izuku. Don't tell me you're not as pumped as me at our progress, the younger boy's best friend yells. Crossing his arms, Izuku looks to Mirio, smiling because of course he's impressed. He never thought he would reach this level of power at his age, and he has him to thank for it. I was just a random, quirkless orphan that nobody cared about, But you changed that, Mirio, Izuku thinks happily. What are you guys looking so gloomy about? Were you guys having a serious talk? Tamaki, I told you we should have stayed back at the cafe. Nijire says as she spins down onto the sandy beach. Behind her, following slowly with a gloomy face, is Mirio's second closest friend as well as Midoriya's, who seems to be shaking his face at the oblivious girl. Nijire, as I seem to recall, I was the one who told you to stay back, but you said that. Covering his mouth, Nijire hops in front of the gloomy teen, laughing, tossing out denial after denial of his accusation towards her. Tamaki is such a funny guy, but also a liar, don't you agree, Midoriya? Looking to the younger boy, Izuku agrees, laughing at their friend's behavior. Don't worry, Nijire, waving the interruption off. Midoriya and I were just talking about how he's a shoo-in for you, since I got accepted. Mirio says, smiling. Nodding her head quickly, Nijire floats over to the fluffy-haired boy and begins squeezing his arms. Yeah. Don't worry, Izuku, you're a little beefcake, there's no way you won't pass the exam when it's your turn for the entrance exam, Nijire says. Unknowingly causing Midoriya to begin stuttering and turn red-faced from being called a beefcake from such a pretty girl. I wouldn't call myself a beefcake. You're right, Izubro, you're more like a cinnamon roll but like super buff, Mirio chimes in, getting nods from the two older Udata students. Walking up to him and squeezing his cheeks. Jumping up and down, Nijire smiles wider, spinning in agreement. Yeah, that's exactly Midoriya. We can say it's because he's sweet, cute and he has fluffy hair. That does sound like Midoriya, Tamaki whispers from his spot on the side. Tears of frustration as well as embarrassment run down Izuku's face as the three older teens discuss his similarities to a pastry. How did I get stuck with you three as friends? He cries. It only worsens when a cute girl with strawberry blonde hair and a side ponytail walks by, holding back laughter at seeing Izuku's cheeks being pulled and hair being played with as they say how much they'll miss their cinnamon roll while they're at UA. Wait, you guys, stop it. Look, that girl, she's watching and laughing. Don't embarrass me. Izuku yells, trying but failing to seem cool in front of the cute girl, who finally lets her laughter out as she passes by. What's this? A girl has caught our little Izuku's eye? Nijire says, dramatically cupping both eyes and searching around for the culprit. Over yonder. The pretty girl with the side ponytail. Mirio yells before disappearing in front of the trio and reappearing in front of the girl who was walking by and watching Izuku and the others. Hi there, we couldn't help but notice that you were checking out my little brother Izuku, Mirio says, bluntly, scaring the girl. Kaya, the unknown girl, screams, hopping back, clutching her chest. Realizing his mistake, he chuckles and says, oh my bad, I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Mirio Togata, and the green-haired freckled cinnamon roll you were checking out is Izuku Midoriya. I wasn't checking him out, you and your friends were just being funny, making a scene, she pouts. Then realizing her mistake says, and I'm Kendo Itsuka? Kendo. Nice to meet you, Nijire says, floating down from her spot in the air, holding a struggling Izuku in her arms. This is Izuku, he noticed you checking him out and thinks you're pretty, the first-year student says. Huffing, the girl says, I wasn't checking him out, you guys were just acting funny. Meanwhile, Izuku looks to his friends, then to the girl, and shrieks, yelling denials, I never said that, why are you lying, Nijire? Then looking to Kendo, he goes, not that I don't think you're cute, because you are. It's just I never said that, Nijire was just making assumptions. Correct assumptions, she butts in. Yes, but still. Blushing, Izuku realizes the other girl still hasn't said anything, so when he finally looks her way, he sees that she's covering her mouth to hold back her laughter. Your friends are right, you are adorable, she says. And single, Tamaki whispers, shocking Mirio and Nijire for being so bold. Thankfully to Izuku though, Kendo did not hear the older boy. A few minutes later, while the five converse, Kendo hears her name being called to go home. Smiling sadly, the girl looks to the weirdo group of friends and bids them goodbye, unsure of when she'll see them again. I'm sorry, but I have to go. But it was nice to meet you, 4-inch, she yells, running away. After they no longer see her is when it dawns on Izuku, he didn't grab her number, bumming him. Sorry Izuku. Better luck next time, Nijire says, petting the younger boy's head, although he knows she's just using this as an excuse to run her hands through his hair. I wonder how she'd react if I cut my hair. Don't even think about cutting your hair, Izuku, got it? Nijire says with a sharp glint in her eye. Nodding his head, still with her hand in it, he sighs, relenting to his faith. I mean, it's not like I don't enjoy it, he thinks, hiding a smile when she scratches his scalp as they walk him back to the orphanage. As they continue to walk him to the orphanage, all three teens apologize to him for not being better wingmen but promise to be better help with the next girl. Don't worry, Izuku, next time we'll get the girl's number before her name, Mirio yells. Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. Write that down, Nijire says, looking to the silent boy who was already writing down the tip. Got it, he says to the others. Guys, I don't think that will. Sighing because he doubts they'll listen, Izuku nods and thanks them for the tips, secretly loving the fact he has these guys as his wingmen, even if they are horrible at it. So, when do you think you can visit me again? I know you have school starting up and it'll be busy since it's your first year. Izuku asks, hoping the answer will be soon. Tapping his chin, Mirio thinks of the schedule they received. He doesn't want to admit it, but their first year is extremely busy, but Izuku is his best friend, so he'll do his best to make time. Not to worry, Izuku, as soon as Nijire, Tamaki and I have settled into classes, we'll come visit you and tell you about everything we've done, Mirio says with his megawatt smile. A burning sensation erupts in Izuku's chest because he knows Mirio means it when he makes his promise. So nodding his head, he smiles back, accepting his words. As he goes to enter the orphanage, he hears three voices yell out, "Power," and as he turns around, he sees Mirio doing his signature pose with Nijire and Tamaki doing the same. Walking out, Izuku grins and mimics his best friend yelling, "Power," at him, knowing that even though Mirio may be busy training to be a hero, he'll still make time for him. It had been 4 months since he had seen Mirio, Nijire and Tamaki. But as much as he missed them, he knew they were busy in school with their hero studies, so he couldn't really hold a grudge about it. In fact, he was happy for them. From what Mirio had been telling him through their texts, they had recently gotten their hero suits, and with the fabric used, he was no longer flashing people during combat practice. The same couldn't be said about his other classes though. Izuku begged for a picture of the three in their suits, which Mirio refused to show, saying he wanted to be there to see his reaction when he saw what they looked like in them, after which Midoriya stopped asking. However, that isn't to say Izuku had such an easy time with Mirio and the others gone. As soon as Bakugo and his lackeys found out they were busy with Yude and Izuku was back to be a loner, their bullying ventured back outside of school since the older teens weren't there to protect Izuku, despite Izuku's pleas that he could handle them. Oi Deku, where's your guard dogs? Finally see how useless you were and decided that you weren't worth the trouble, Bakugo shouted with an evil grin. His lackeys behind him laughing at their leader's joke. Frowning at his former friend's behavior, Midoriya glares before answering, not at all afraid of the explosion user like he used to be. No Bakugo, they're going to Yude to become awesome heroes. They're just busy right now so they can't visit me, Nezuko says smugly to his bullies. Veins pop on his forehead at hearing the insult the quirkless boy calls him. What did you just call me? Smirking, Midoriya looks Bakugo in the eyes and slowly says, Bakugo, eyes widening at the sight of an explosive fist coming near his face so fast that he's not sure even he can dodge it in time. When the lackeys behind Bakugo see the sheer size of it nearing Deku, even they are surprised at the intensity of it. Never call me that again, or I'll kill you, Bakugo yells. When he doesn't hear a response behind the smoke cloud, he begins to worry like his lackeys. Perhaps he did go overboard with his explosion. The nerd hasn't said anything in a few minutes, and that power he used was big enough for a howitzer impact. Deku, this isn't funny, get your ass up and fight back like the nerd in you usually does. Dude, I think you went a bit overboard on the dork, the winged lackey says, looking around for any witnesses in courtyard they were at. The other lackey nodding his head, sweating profusely. Shut up, I'll tell you when I go overboard. Bakugo says, slightly panicking. No. I think the chubby boy and the weird-looking boy are right. You went a bit overboard on my little cinnamon roll, a sickly sweet voice says above the smoke that was still disappearing. Gulping, Bakugo freezes up, deciding that he had officially fucked up when he recognizes that voice as the slightly airhead girl who hung around Izuku, who was willing to beat up anyone who messed with the nerd. Looking around, he couldn't find where the voice was until he and the other two boys slowly titled their head up to see the girl had Izuku cradled in her arms, with the boy pouting. Why are you pouting, you fucking nerd? A hot girl is holding you in her arms, be grateful, Bakugo thought before going back to panicking at the sight of the girl. Smiling, Nijire slowly descends down in front of the boys, letting Izuku jump down beside her, who was still pouting. "Oh, come now Izaburo, you know you liked being in Nijire's arms cuddled up like that," Mirio said, popping up from the ground naked, before Tamaki walked up with pants for the boy. "Oh, thank you Tamaki," Mirio said laughing. "I do not," Izuku said with a red face, trying to deny it but the others being able to tell otherwise. "Ah really Izuku, so you don't like when I hug you like this either," Nijire says before jumping on the boy's back and wrapping her arms around him like a koala, making him blush even more than he already was, and the other two laugh, while the three bullies stood frozen, scared to make a move in front of Deku's bodyguards. "Come on guys, you're embarrassing me in front of my bullies," Izuku said, trying but failing to get Nijire off. "She's gotten way stronger since I've last seen her." Sighing, Izuku accepted his fate and let the girl adjust herself on his back so she could carry him. Realizing the bullies were still there, the three turned their focus to Bakugo and the others with a darkened aura. "Ah, thank you for reminding us Izaburo. We almost forgot with how you were flirting with Nijire," Mirio joked. Freezing, Izuku turns to Mirio, betrayed and confused because he doesn't know when he was even doing that. Yua was never. Shoulders slumping, Izuku looks back to his frightened tormentors who were now red with jealousy at the boy who had a hot girl on his back staring at them with killing intent. "Now I thought we told you to leave ours alone Bakugo," Mirio says, arms crossed over his buff chest, slightly scaring Bakugo and the others. "No teen should be that buff," they screamed internally. "Yeah, our cinnamon roll beefcake has done nothing to you. So why do you keep tormenting him about being an orphan? That's not very nice or heroic, you know. We could tell a hero at you today, and since they don't tolerate bullying, you'll have a harder time of ever getting in there," Nijire threatened. Blood drains from Bakugo's face, his chances of Yuta possibly being gone just like that, he almost threw up at the thought. Looking to the nerd who was standing there expressionless only scared him more. This entire time he was bullying him, he had a trump card. The damn nerd, he probably was letting me do this so he could blackmail me. He wanted to ruin my chances of getting into UA. When he looked back at them, he saw they were still staring at him with a threatening aura waiting for him to answer. "Tiske, the damn nerd acts all high and mighty while being quirkless. He can't be a hero like that, so I'm teaching him his place. How many times does Izuku have to tell you? He's not quirkless," Nijire says, angry, getting confused looks from the three younger boys. "That also doesn't explain why you bring up his orphan status, as well as explain the reason for making fun of the fact his mother died no less," Tamaki whispers to Bakugo, who is now having trouble speaking. As soon as Bakugo hears Nijire bring up him making fun of Deku for being an orphan, he knew he was screwed. Bakugo's best chance of getting out of answering that was to counter it by answering why he makes fun of his dream of being a hero while quirkless. The nerd may say he's not, but he's yet to see him use any power. When he finishes his explanation to the airhead, he realizes any chance of leaving was thrown out the window when the emo dude asked him the question again. I don't know. But I was pissed that somehow, despite being a stupid orphan, despite his mom being dead and him being quirkless, he still wanted to be a hero. His stupid optimistic attitude was always getting on my nerves." Bakugo was stopped mid-rant by a fist in his face. The two lackeys were too shocked to go and help their leader. Bakugo was still reeling from finding out he could have his dream of going to UA taken away, but what shocked him most was the punched in the face by the quiet one of Deku's group. "Taunting someone with their mother's death because you're jealous is not heroic at all," Tamaki said before reverting to his shy self. "And for the last time, Izuku is not quirkless, he just doesn't like breaking the law," Mirio butts in. Izuku could honestly say that out of the four of their group to ever punch Bakugo for what was said, he never would have thought it would be Tamaki to do it. Sure, Tamaki was the one to ask why Bakugo felt the need to constantly bully Izuku and use his mother's death as ammo, but to be the one to punch the blonde, well, Izuku would have guessed Mirio or Nijire before Tamaki. "Wow Maki, I would have never guessed you had it in you," Nijire says, staring at the quiet boy currently standing in a corner after punching the younger bully. "Bravo Tamaki! What a punch! Our sparring sessions are really paying off, wouldn't you say, Izaburo?" Mirio shouts, watching the bullies run off, one of them holding a bloody nose. "Yeah Tamaki, you put a lot of power in that punch," Izuku says, chuckling. The other three go silent. Then suddenly Mirio bursts out laughing, throwing an arm around Izuku, watching out for Nijire, who was still holding on to Izuku. "We sure did miss you, Izuku," Mirio says, leading the boy away to his house. We're sorry we haven't visited you, school has been so busy but now we're on break for a whole week. Nijire says, hugging Izuku tighter. We plan to make it up to you, Tamaki says from the side. Thank you guys, but I know how tough you is, so no need to apologize, Izuku says with a teary smile. Nonsense, Izuku, we are your friends, nay family, therefore it is our duty to always make time for you. This week is solely devoted to you, Mirio says with a fist in the air, Nijire and Tamaki following closely. Thanks guys, Izuku says, unable to hold back, putting his fist in the air. But first we have to show you our costumes. Mirio says, pulling a picture out of the three in their suits, Nijire pulling her phone out to capture Izuku's starry eyes at seeing the awesome outfits they have. Oh man, look at Nijire's, you look amazing in it. I bet it supports your wave motion quirk with those gauntlet, and Tamaki's cloak looks so cool and mysterious. Whoa Mirio, yours is so cool. But what's the number on it for? Laughing at the younger boy's expression, the older three smile and begin to explain. Well, I put 1 million because that's how many people I want to save. It also corresponds with my hero name Lemillion. Mirio shouts, doing his power pose, enjoying Izuku's huge smile at him. I kept mine simple. Smiling, Nijire reveals her name. My hero alias is Nijire-chan. I like it so cool. Izuku says to his best friends, what about you Tamaki, what is your hero alias? Scratching his head, he looks away before whispering, my name is Suneater. So cool. You guys have such awesome names. I can't wait till I have to choose mine. Oh man, what should my costume look like? Izuku asks, panicking, causing the others to laugh. Izabro, don't worry, you still have time till you need to make yours, but if you want, we can help you, Mirio says, gesturing to the three of them. Looking to the older teens, Izuku gets a glossy look in his eye. Really, you will? Oh man, I'm gonna have the coolest costume ever. Guys, I'm not so sure about this, Izuku says nervously. What? How can you say that, my little Izuku? Nijire says dramatically, we worked so hard on this. Nodding his head, Mirio crosses his arms in disappointment. It's true, Izabro, we spent 2 days on this costume, and this is the thanks we get. For shame, Tamaki whispers. Looking to the three, Izuku waves his hands in apology. No guys, the costume is great, it's just I think a tight baby blue one piece with a red cape and purple mask looks a little weird for someone like me, don't you think? Izuku mumbles. What's so weird about that? Nijire asks, nodding appreciatively at their masterpiece. Yeah, I for one think it fits you perfectly. Mirio says. Agreed, especially the mask, Tamaki says. Izuku looks at his best friends for a moment, unsure whether they're serious or not, and when they look back at him with smiles that indicate that yes, they are indeed serious about this design, he realizes that he has been a bit over his head accepting their help. Well, if you don't like this look, for reasons unknown, Nijire whispers, then what are you looking for, Mirio inquires. How about this, Izuku says, beginning to draw a green and black jumpsuit with a red cape, with the word power embroidered on the chest. As the Nijire and Tamaki continue to look at his drawing, smiling at the wording he put on his chest and design being exactly something Izuku would wear, Mirio looks back to his best friend, tears in his eyes. It's perfect, Izabro. There'll probably be a bigger time skip next chapter, but not too big. Remember, this is a start of Mirio and Izuku's friendship starting before and entering to you today. Mirio, Nijire and Tamaki were relaxing in class, waiting for their homeroom teacher Aizawa-sensei to come in. While they waited, they began to discuss their favorite subject, or rather favorite person, Izuku Midoriya. Hey, do you think we can see Izuku after class? We haven't seen him in a few weeks. I think he'd enjoy knowing about what's coming up. Nijire tried whispering. Tapping his chin, Mirio nodded sage-like in agreement to the hypergirl. Indeed, Nijire, I think our little Izuku would thoroughly enjoy it, but what he would enjoy even more is coming to it, he finishes. But how are we going to do that? Tamaki mutters. Simple, we just, leaning in to speak, the other two begin to smile ear to ear as they hear Mirio's brilliant plan on how to bring Izuku to UA. A few minutes later, when they are done conversing, their sensei finally walks in, addressing the class, or what's left of them, the rest being expelled for having no potential, and tells them of the upcoming event they need to train for. Okay class, you've all been doing well academically, but if you want to prove to the pros you have what it takes to be a real hero, then you need to prepare yourself for the sports festival that's coming up, as most of you had already predicted, a tired voice said. The three friends sitting in the back fail to contain their glee at the upcoming event, where they will have to put their all in if they want to show themselves off. That's all for now. Head over to Gym Gamma for combat practice with Cementos. Actually sensei, we had a question? Nijire said as she, Mirio and Tamaki waited for everyone to walk out, leaving only the three students alone with their sensei who looked ready for a nap. Well, talkative child, what is it? Aizawa asked. Well, sensei, we have a friend, named more like a little brother, who is a big fan of the U.A Sports Festival, and we were hoping we could score him a ticket so he could watch us compete? Mirio asked. Aizawa looked at his three top students wondering if they were being serious or just messing with him. When he saw their hopefully faces falter for a moment, he realized that, no, they were not joking, they wanted a free ticket to the sports festival. Look, you three, I can't just give tickets out for free for every U.A student. If we did, then we'd never make any money for the school. I'm sorry, but no, Aizawa said. But sir, Mirio tried protesting only to get a glare, immediately shutting him up. I said no, not get to Gym Gamma before I give you detention. Yes, sensei, the three replied downtrodden. As Aizawa saw his three top students walk away, he felt a sharp pain in his chest. When told by Recovery Girl nothing was wrong with him, he realized that he was feeling guilt for turning down the three kids' requests. For fuck's sake. The next day Aizawa called in the three students and had them explain just why this child couldn't get his own ticket or at least watch it on TV. He kind of wished he hadn't asked when they explained his situation to him. Aizawa-sensei, we weren't lying when we said he was like a little brother to us. I've known Izuku since he was 8 and he's like family. He's had to live in an orphanage because his mother was killed in a villain attack, so he has no one. Aizawa flinched when he heard this. Kid had to have a rough childhood. But he finishes. What about his dad? You said the mom died, what of the dad? His dad gave him up, but Izuku never gave a reason why though, Mirio answers. Sighing, Aizawa rubs his forehead. These three had to have adopted the unluckiest kid in the world. Can I at least see a picture of the kid you want me to get a free ticket for? Aizawa asks, regretting his words when he sees the three teens' face light up and fight over what picture to show. Show this one, it brings out Izuku's eyes. Nijire says. No, this one when he's sparring with us. Mirio shouts. What about that one we did with last month for fun? Tamaki whispered, ceasing the arguing at once. You're a genius, Tamaki. That's the best photo we've ever taken, even if it was against Izuku's will. Mirio shouts. Oh yeah, definitely one of our finer pictures, Nijire nods, not noticing their sensei's patience was getting thinner by the second. Nijire, if you would do the honors, Mirio says, watching the energetic girl present her phone to their sensei who while usually was great at holding an expressionless face couldn't help but let his lips lift in a small smile at the three teens plus who he assumes is Izuku dressed up as the wild pussycats. Introducing our best friend Izuku Midoriya, Nijire says dramatically. I'm guessing Midoriya is the one dressed as Ragdoll, Aizawa said trying to hold his laughter in. Indeed, Aizawa-sensei. We figured since their hair color matched she would be the best match for Izuku, Mirio said proudly. How did you determine the others? He couldn't help but ask. Easy, Mirio was Tiger since he is the tallest and buffest of us. Tamaki was Mandalay since they have a similar hairstyle, and I was Pixie Bob because of the color scheme. Nijire explained, happily. Aizawa's lip twitched upward, thankfully able to hide it underneath his capture gear. You know what, give me a copy of this photo and I'll give the kid a seat with you guys in your class section, Aizawa said, hoping that would be enticing enough to give him a copy. Deal, the three shouts. Izuku's gonna be so happy, Nijire said, twirling around in the air. I can't wait to tell Izaburo the great news when we see him today. Forget training, today's a cheat day, Mirio says before running off. Thank you, sensei, this means a lot to us. Mirio especially, Tamaki says. Sighing, the homeroom teacher nods his head. Yeah, just don't mention it to anyone when they question what a random kid is doing in your booth, K, and about that picture? Here you go, Tamaki says, already sending the picture to his teacher's phone followed by a floating Nijire. In the teacher's lounge. Oh my god, these kids are too pure, midnight cooed. Has Mandalay and the others seen this yet? Present Mike asked, not even holding back his laughter. Oh yeah, they loved it, especially the Izuku kid. Ragdoll said he could pass off as her brother. He smirked. So, what did you do to get this from Mirio and the others? I'm pretty sure they didn't give it to you for nothing, Snipes said nonchalantly. Nothing big, just a spot for the kid in their booth at the sports festival, Aizawa says nonchalantly, causing the others to spit their drink. Seriously, and Nizu approved that? Cementos said skeptical. Smirking, the erasure hero shakes his head, not at first, but then I showed the picture they gave, and he immediately changed his mind saying how adorable those four were and he could not let the kid watch and be there for them. Well, I'll be damned, they thought. At Dagoba, Izuka hadn't seen his friends in a few weeks, which was alright. Bakugo had backed off since they had warned him to stop bullying him, so aside from the glaring and calling him a quirkless Deku, he was otherwise fine. Deciding to take a walk around the beach was his best form of therapy when he wanted to talk to someone, but no one was around. I wish Nijire was here. She can usually fill up the silence with 1,000 questions I have no answer to, Izuku laughed. Then pausing in his steps, Izuku turns around when he hears stomps in the sand and yelling in the distance. Izuku, 3 voices yell. Looking for the culprits, Izuku's face breaks into smile, his wish coming true when he gets tackled by Nijire herself, then Tamaki and Mirio respectively. Izuku, we couldn't find you when we went to your school, or the orphanage, or your little part-time job at that restaurant. Nijire yells, sobbing. We got so worried we almost called the police, Miro adds. I stopped them and told them you might be at the beach, Tamaki's muffled voice says from Izuku's chest. You guys, Izuku laughs. I was just wandering around since it's my day off. Watching the glare from Mirio, he clarifies. From working out too, he placates, seeing the Tin wannabe go back to smiling. Oh well, that's good. Oh, guess what? Nijire says. Izuku already knows not to play this game because otherwise he'll be here all night. Instead, he forfeits the game to Nijire and asks for the answer straight away. Just 124-0. Still the reigning champ Izuku. Nijire cheers before Mirio takes over and reveals why they were so excited. Izabro, it took some talking to and a little bribery, but guess what we got? What? We got you a ticket to the Udata Sports Festival that's happening in 3 weeks, and not only that, you get to be in our booth, he said. Izuku almost fainted when he heard his best friend's words. Going to the Udata Sports Festival, sitting in the same booth as them, it was too good to be true. There was no way they were telling the truth. Izuku, we're telling you the truth, Tamaki says, putting his hand on the younger boy's shoulder to stop his mumbling. Yeah, and Aizawa-sensei rarely lies. He expelled half our class for having no potential, just like he said he would, Mirio said, watching the shocked face appear on his little sidekick's face. So, you mean I'm going to the Udata Festival? Wait, with what? You said you had to bribe the teacher. Well, not bribe per se. We just told him a little bit about you and gave him that photo we took last month, Nijire says innocently, not expecting the outburst she receives next, when Izuku pounces on her. You did what? He yells, making her fall back when she loses balance after he jumped on her spontaneously. That picture was for our eyes only, he cried. Oh, come on Izuku, that picture was one of a kind. Even the person who took the photo for us said so, Mirio says with mirth in his eyes at the two on the sand. Yeah, Izuku, you can't expect us not to show that cute picture of the 4 of us, Nijire joked, enjoying how red his face gets when he tries to get off, but failing as Nijire hugs him tighter. Yes, I can. The only reason I agreed to dress up as Ragdoll was because Mirio said he'd buy Katsudon if I did. That picture was against my will, Izuku yelled, still trying to get over what his friends did. Finally feeling she tortured him enough, Nijire let go of the younger boy, wiping the sand off their bodies. Don't worry Izuku, I doubt Aizawa-sensei even showed it to anyone. He probably just wanted it because his 3 favorite students were in the picture, Mirio brags, not realizing how very wrong he was. Really, you think so? Izuku asks. Of course I do. Now come on, we need your help to prepare ourselves for the Udata Festival. Power. Mirio shouts. Power. Nijire shouts, doing her power pose. Power. Tamaki murmurs, doing a similar power pose. Poor Izuku shouts, stoked he gets to see Udata students fight against each other up close, already forgetting the possibility of the entire staff of UA having seen him dressed up as a wild pussycat. What are the odds? Izuku thought, before running to catch up with the others for their impromptu jog. Wait a second, Mirio, you said today was AS/cheat day? Nijire says, pausing in her steps. Oh yeah, I did. Okay, then onwards to my house for Katsudon. Mirio yells, going back to his power pose. Onwards, Izuku yells. Onwards, Nijire and Tamaki yell following the blonde and green duo currently racing each other to Mirio's house. Just a few clarifications for those who worry I'm making Mirio and Midoriya too experienced at such a young age or too strong. If you read back a few chapters, Mirio stated he's gotten better at his quirk, but he's not where he wants to be despite all his training. I'm purposely throwing in these things so you know Mirio isn't Big 3 material yet. He still needs to be trained by Night Eye so he can stop these little incidences of flashing people at you. Outside of combat practice. And Midoriya is still following Mirio's workout plan because he still feels like he's not met up with where Mirio is either. Also, this isn't a Deku story. I looked that up and nope, this is not what that is. Purely one relationship and the rest will be purely platonic. Sorry if I'm making it seem like that. Next concern, because so many people have requested it, I'm gonna keep this at a pace where you can see the interactions between the four. Also based off of the timeline, Izuku is around 13. If there are any other concerns, feel free to comment or PM and I'll address them. Izuku counted the days until the first year's sports festival. It was 2 weeks ago that Mirio and the others had revealed to him that he would be going, and watching it from the first year's booth, no less. Finally, after what seemed like months but really was only a few days, it was finally time. Today is the UA Sports Festival. And I get to watch Mirio, Nijire and Tamaki compete. Izuku grinned as he walked up to the stadium. I hope Mirio's ready for the festival. He's improving a lot, but without the use of his costume for the festival he'll have to rely on his physical prowess to get by rather than his quirk, unless he doesn't mind flashing people. But then again, Izuku mumbled under his breath, beginning to zone out, causing him to bump into one of his favorite heroes, although he'd never admit that to Mirio or Nijire, lest he want them to have teasing material. Oh my god, you're 18 plus pro hero Midnight. This is so cool. Your quirk is fascinating, rambling too fast for the older woman to understand. Oh, why thank you, not many appreciate my quirk like you do, she said, smiling deviously. Oh well, that's crazy, Izuku managed to get out after realizing Midnight was speaking back to him. So, tell me what you are doing here in the student section of the UA stadium, she asked. Oh, I was invited by my best friends and big bro to watch the festival. It took a few seconds, but after she scanned the boy's face, his unruly green hair and surprisingly buff body, she squealed in recognition. Oh my god, you're Ragdoll Jr. You're even more adorable up close. Oh, I could just eat you up, Midnight gushed as she hugged Midoriya close to her chest, suffocating the slightly smaller boy. Izuku! Izabru! Midoriya! Mustering all his strength, Izuku turned his head to see his three best friends running at him full speed, arms wide, screaming his name at the top of their lungs. You're cheating on me with another woman. Nijire gasped. Scrambling away from the older woman, Izuku tried to stutter a response, garnering a hearty laugh from Midnight and the others. Honestly, Izuku, I'm starting to think you don't want me anymore, Nijire pouted. But what, we're not even dating? Izuku shouted, blushing a red mess. We could change that, she sang, then with a small slap on the head stopped. Nijire, stop it before you make Izuku pass out, and let's head on in to the student booth, Mirio said, grinning at his friend's actions. Looking to his sensei, they bowed and thanked her for finding the green bushy-haired boy. No problem, I'm just glad I get to brag to the others about seeing Lil Ragdoll before them, she said, walking away laughing. You said no one else saw that, Izuku pouted, while carrying Nijire on his back. Well, we honestly thought no one else did until we saw a poster of us in the teacher's lounge, Mirio said sheepishly. What? Why would they have a poster of us there? Izuku said, flabbergasted. They said it makes them smile, Nijire said, tapping Izuku to go walk faster so they can get to their seats faster. Izuku was starry-eyed, staring at the field below him. All of UA's students were gathered there for the preliminary round. He couldn't help thinking of what exciting game the school would think of to start off with. And to find out who will advance to the next round, we will start the games with the race. Midnight shouted. All around the crowd quieted, such a simple thing to start off with. The students will have to race each other through this simple course, but beware of booby traps set up by yours truly, Principal Nizu. Cheers erupted at the newest twist added, while the students became nervous at hearing that their principal had a hand in this course. Ready, go. Izuku was a bit worried once he saw what the first round was. Nijire would be fine, and possible Tamaki, But Mirio, well, given his clothes had fallen off already and he was trying to hurry and recover them, gave him all he knew that things were going to turn out as good as he thought they would. It was 15 minutes later and the 42 students to advance were announced, albeit not without a few burns and sprains. Izuku was happy to see Nijire and Tamaki manage to make it through, but given with how many times Mirio accidentally slipped through at the wrong time activating a trap, or needed to gather his clothes, well, Izuku was a bit sad seeing his friend not advance. "Mirio, how are you feeling?" Izuku asks. Smiling, the older teen looks to his best friend, like, "I need to train harder." Nodding his head, Izuku grins, "Yeah, and I'll be right by your side. And next year when you compete, you'll get first place." "That's right, next year I'll make it to the next round for sure." Mirio said, "This is really going to affect my chance for an internship," he sighed. "No, it won't. I mean, sure you didn't advance, but can you imagine how many heroes saw you use your power? There's no way none of them wouldn't want you." Izuku shouted. Shaking his head at his Aizu brother's infectious attitude, he grins, "Yeah, you're right. I just have to wait and see who picks me." Unaware of the pro hero who had been watching the festival uninterested until he caught an eye on Mirio. So much untapped potential. "Oh man, can you believe I didn't even make it past the first round? I'm not gonna get any good offers for internships. But wow, Tamaki, you got to the second round, not bad." Nijire recounts. Tamaki smiled at his energetic friend. "Thanks." Smiling at the wave user, Izuku shakes his head excitingly, "No way, you were amazing, Nijire. You definitely got noticed, and you too, Tamaki, the way you just smacked that guy off the ledge during the fighting round. Where'd you find the time to eat octopus though?" "Trade secret," he smiled. The four were currently leaving the stadium on their way to Mirio's house to celebrate the end of the sports festival, when a stern voice stopped them. "Mirio, Nijire, and Tamaki." "Aizawa-sensei," the three yelled, turning around to quickly bow, Mirio pushing Izuku to do the same. "How can we help you?" Mirio said, smiling. "So, this is Ragdoll Jr., huh?" Aizawa said, hiding a smile behind his wrap. "Yes, indeed, sir. Isn't he just adorable? We found him in an orphanage. Or rather, Mirio did, but decided to keep him, while Tamaki and I decided to join the little family they created," Nijire blurted out. Izuku and Mirio blanched at Nijire's words. "Found him in an orphanage? I see. And what school do you go to? I mean, you don't look like you go to any hero school." "Aldra Junior High, sir. But I plan to attend here, when I'm old enough," Izuku said proudly. "Indeed, Izuburo here has been training with us since a kid, although he hates using his quirk in public. Since it's illegal, we've managed to find ways for Izuku to go around that," Mirio said with a thumbs up. Aizawa was silent at the other boy's admission. In truth, he found it adorable the kid followed the quirk laws when so few seldomly do. "Look, I don't do this often, but the other teachers still want to meet you and I'm curious about your quirk, so I'll allow you to train with Mirio and the others in one of UA's training facilities on the weekends, so you don't have to worry too much about going about the illegal quirk usage," Aizawa said nonchalantly, "but you'll have to make do with your regular training the rest of the week." The four kids in front of him stood gawking at him, his students surprised mostly that he was being so accommodating. "Mr. Aizawa, we thank you so much for this. We promise not to take advantage of your hospitality." Mirio and the others promised, bowing repeatedly, pushing Izuku to do the same. "Yes, sir," Izuku said, causing another smile to appear on Aizawa's face. "Whatever, here's a student pass for him to use. Now get out of here before I expel you," Aizawa said, walking off. Was he just carrying that around, or did he plan this?" Izuku asked. "Who knows, but look, we have a training place for the weekends," Mirio shouted, excited at the prospect. Yeah. Nijire shouted, "Let's go celebrate." "Yeah, power," Mirio shouted. "Power!" Izuku, Nijire, and Tamaki yelled. "So, did you meet the boy?" Nizu asked. "Yeah, he's as innocent as the picture showed him to be. Also, I invited him to train his quirk with Mirio and the others on the weekends here," Aizawa said. "Now, why in the world would you do that?" Nizu asked, curious. The kid apparently follows quirk laws to a T, and while Mirio and the others train with him, they have trouble with his quirk training since he's such a goob. "So, I figured I'd fix that," he shrugged, ignoring the other faculty grinning at the usually stoic man's sweet offer. "I see, Well, okay, then I approve of your actions and can't wait to meet the boy, Nizu said before walking off. Oh. You guys do combat practice here every week? Izuku gushed, still not over the fact he was standing in on of UA's training facility. Yeah. It's so fun kicking each other's butt, Nijire said from Izuku's back. That's right, although I'm still trailing behind on fully controlling my quirks, Mirio said sadly. That may be true, Mirio, but isn't that what you're here for, to learn how to fully control it and become the #1 hero? Izuku cheered. Mirio smiled at his best friend, his words of encouragement all he needed to remember his promise he made to Izuku, and that yes, that is why he's going to UA. Yeah, that is why I'm here, Mirio said. While that was a sweet speech and all, you said you came here to train your quirk, so show me what you've got so I know I'm not wasting my weekend. Izuku's eyes shined at seeing the teacher here allowing him to use his quirk. Yeah, okay, but you might want to back up. Taking heed of his words, Aizawa and the others do as he says as Izuku takes a deep breath and ignites himself, surprising the teacher when he sees emerald flames surrounding the boy, followed by the flames moving and lifting the dumbbells on the side. Once he's done showing the telekinetic part of his quirk, he releases the weights and shoots off flames from his hands, setting the targets in front of him on fire. This kid has ample control of his quirk already, Aizawa said. Just wait, Mirio said, making Aizawa look back to the boy who continued to spew flames and started panicking. Mirio! It's happening again! Izuku yelled, running around as the flames continued to be released from his hands, setting everything in his vicinity on fire, as well as his shirt. This is why we've been trying to train him. He still hasn't learned how to turn off the flames, Mirio says, going to Izuku so he could knock him out. Instead, Aizawa just activated him quirk, turning off Izuku's. A few moments later, the fire sprinklers went off, soaking everyone, as well as a frowning Eraserhead. What did I get myself into? Well, obviously you need to learn self-restraint or control, either one, and maybe invest in some fireproof clothes? Aizawa suggested. That sounds good, but I can't afford the fireproof clothes, Izuku said. I'll just have to work on the self-control. Sighing because he already knew he was somehow getting too attached to the kid, he shook his head. You has gym clothes that are fireproof, take a pair and I'll let Nizu know I allowed you to. For now, since I know what I'm starting with, you four can go and we'll start back tomorrow with Izuku dressed properly, he says, looking pointedly at Izuku. Yelping, Izuku runs towards the changing room to find a spare shirt, Mirio and the others following close behind. May I ask why you're doing so much for this boy, Nizu inquires, showing up when the others are fully gone. I don't know, I guess I feel bad for the kid having been dealt such a shitty hand, Aizawa shrugged. Seems like least I could do is help the kid reach his dream of being a hero, seeing as he has some potential. Well, alright then, but that uniform is coming out of your pocket, Nizu says, walking away. Figured. A week later. So, guys, who did you get for your internships? Izuku asked, practically jumping out of his seat in the cafe they were in. Well, I accepted Ryuko's agency invite, Nijire said proudly. Fat Gum wanted me, so I accepted, Tamaki whispered. Whoa, that's amazing, you got such great heroes. Ryuko's an upcoming hero who is already in the top 30s, while Fat Gum isn't as high but still popular and has an exclusive agency, Izuku said, starry-eyed at his friends. Then looking to Mirio, what about you, Mirio? He was worried at first because of his results, but like Izuku said, his thoughts were unfounded, because he did get an invite by a hero who Izuku would probably like himself. I got invited to Sir Night Eye's agency, Mirio said proudly. No way. Sir Night Eye was All Might's only sidekick. Once they split up, he made his own agency. The fact you got picked is amazing, Mirio. I knew heroes would want you. Izuku said in awe of his best bro's power. Yeah, Izuku's always right, Mirio said, rolling his eyes. Izuku was walking to meet Mirio and the others at Dagoba Beach before heading to Mirio's house. They said they had a surprise for him to make up for being so busy with their internships, which he didn't mind. Of course, he knew they would be busy with having such high-profile heroes as their mentors, but then again, his friends were so caring. Okay, Izuku, now that you're here we can reveal to you the surprise we had for you, Nijire said, jumping up and down in front of the broccoli-haired boy, pausing for dramatic effect. We have your hero names finalized. Whoa, really? You guys didn't have to do that. I still have a while to go till I need one, Izuku said sheepishly. Nonsense, Izuku. You can never be too prepared. Now come on, we worked hard on them, Mirio smiled. It's true, Tamaki whispered. Realizing they weren't going to take no for an answer, Izuku nodded his head and followed his friends back to Mirio's house. Izuku thought about it, and Mirio was right. You can never be too prepared in the hero profession. If he wanted to stand by Mirio's side, then he had to always be prepared. Guys, are you serious? This is like the costume debacle 6 months ago, Izuku deadpanned as he stared at the names they had created for him. He'll admit they were quite creative with their nicknames for him, but as for using them for his hero alias, that was a no-go. Well, I guess I could work with that one, he thought. When he looked up to ask Mirio and the others if they had anything else, he immediately felt bad for rejecting them all. In front of him were his senpais, huddled together, hugging one another with tears in their eyes, and pouting at the younger boy. You really don't want to look at the names we came up with, Izuku-and Nijire sniffled. I mean, it's not that I don't like them. I just think no one would take me serious with any of them, Izuku said, reaching out to hug the older girl only to get turned away. Oh wow, she really is sad, he thought. Looking to the other two, he saw they also were crying and immediately felt bad. He found it was an impossible task getting the sight of these older teens crying because of him out of his head. God damn it, I'm really gonna consider these, aren't I? Looking at the older teens who were wiping each other's tears dramatically, he sighed. Who am I even kidding? Of course I am. But Izaburo, we worked so hard on them, Mirio said, putting his face in Tamaki's shoulder. Why don't you take another look, Siege? Tamaki whispered before going back to the group hug. Deciding it wouldn't kill him too, Izuku nodded, not wanting to hurt his friends anymore. The 3 teens instantly perked up as they picked out their favorite hero name. I can't believe I fell for those crocodile tears, he mumbled. So, this one is mine, Nijire said, holding up a poster with the name Muscle Boy, the beefcake. Izuku looks away, awkwardly nodding. Let's put that one in the it's possible list, yeah? Smiling, Nijire goes to tell Tamaki before already seeing the quiet boy has 3 spots done for the names. Got it. There's a this has potential, maybe, and no thanks, spots. Alright, let's see. What do you have, Mirio? Izuku asked, already regretting his words. Oh, you're gonna love mine. Introducing Innocent Boy. The cinnamon roll on his poster was an actual cinnamon roll. Izuku felt himself cringe, honest to God cringe at his big bro's hero alias for him. Oh wow, well now that is just a really nice name, and well, I knew it. Tamaki put it in the has potential pile. Mirio yelled, happy his little bro loved his name, oblivious to the secondhand embarrassment Izuku was going through. The things I do for these guys, Izuku thought, secretly dying inside. Tamaki, you're up, Izuku said. I made the broccoli boy alias, Tamaki said, raising up the poster with a piece of broccoli with eyes on it. I mean, I don't hate it, but I don't love it, Izuku said quietly. So that's a maybe, Tamaki said, nodding, putting his name in the maybe pile next to Nijire's. How did you get that? Never mind. What's next? Izuku sighed, getting physically tired. The 3 upperclassmen looked to each other, silently communicating to one another before nodding. Why am I getting a bad feeling about this? Izuku chuckled. I think you'll really like this next one, Izuku. Nijire smiled. I do, at least, before raising a poster with the name Lemillion Jr. on it. Izuku spluttered at the hero alias he did not see when he first searched through the name pile, while Mirio gave a hearty laugh at his friend. Nijire's right, Izuku, it would suit you just fine. What better way to announce to the world that we're a hero duo than with matching hero aliases, Mirio joked. I can see it now. Top 10 pro heroes Lemillion and Lemillion Jr. save the day again. Put it in the potential pile, Nijire, Izuku murmured, surprising the trio. Initially Nijire made it as a joke, but she should have known Izuku would consider the name. She smiled softly at the younger boy before putting it in the potential pile. Mirio, on the other hand, was on the side trying to hide his tears from the others, with Tamaki patting his back. I'm not crying, I just have something in my eyes. Oh, who am I kidding? Izaburo is too pure. My little Lemillion Jr. After taking a short break for lunch, the group got back to finding Izuku's hero name. Okay, Izuku, this is our last one and we think it's a real winner. Mirio yelled, Tamaki and Nijire nodding. Izuku couldn't contain his excitement, already knowing which one it was and agreeing with them that it was one of his top choices for a hero alias. Introducing Pyrokinesis Hero, Flame Riot, the 3 yelled in unison. Izuku stared at the name starry-eyed, unable to look away. It was such a cool name, and although some would say it paid tribute to former pro hero Crimson Riot, Izuku still thought that this name was the coolest. Well, aside from Lemillion Jr., yeah? Flame Riot's the one, Izuku thought. So, what do you say, Izuku? Do you like it? Nijire asked, floating around the younger boy who hadn't spoken in a few minutes. Finally tearing his eyes away from the poster, Izuku looked to his friends. With glossy eyes, he nods, thanking them for all the consideration they put into these names. He knows how busy they must have been at school, it being their second year, and all but for them to push off their schoolwork to do this means a lot. Making time for you in school is nothing, Nijire said, messing up the slightly taller boy's hair. Hey, when the heck did you get taller? Last time we hung out I was way taller than you, now you're almost the same height as Tamaki? Nijire pouted. Mirio took a double take after looking at Izuku and saw that Nijire's words were correct. Izuku no longer stood at his regular 5 feet 2 inches height, but now was around 5 feet 7 inches and was far fitter than they had last saw him. How in the world did they miss Izuku changing so much in the time they were at UA? Izuo, why are you growing up so fast without my permission? Mirio yelled, quickly snagging a picture of the four of them to preserve the moment. Ah, I'm sorry guys, but I'm just following your workout plan like you advised me to. Mirio, Izuku mumbled, not wanting to see his best friends cry again. It's okay Izuku, this just means we have to visit you more often. Mirio yelled, fist pumping the air, the others following him. Hearing this, Izuku couldn't help smiling ear to ear. Here's this before we get into the deeper stuff. So far it's a tie with the pairing up. Lastly, if you guys like my writing and wanna support me, I have a Ko-Fi account under the same username. I'll take requests there too for whatever you want. Mirio won't mind if I take a day off. Izuku laughed to himself as he continued his walk, eating the chips he had bought. Izuku had decided to take a nice walk alongside the beach. He decided to clean up alongside his best friend 2 years ago. Deciding this was a nice enough spot to stop at, he sits himself down on a bench beside a skeletal-looking man with blonde hair. Closing his eyes, Izuku soaks up the sun content with just listening to the sound of the waves. That is until the gaunt man decides to break the silence. Something on your mind, young man? The sickly man asks. Opening his eyes, Izuku looks to his left to see the blonde adult looking to him with a softness in his eyes he's only ever seen with Mirio and most recently Aizawa-sensei. For some reason it makes Izuku want to open to the man. You don't have to if you don't want to, but I hear talking to people is good for you, he says with a smile that Izuku can swear he's seen before. Thanking the man, Izuku decides that there's no harm in talking to him, especially since his friends are currently busy with their internships and school to talk with him. It's not their fault, but he doesn't really have anyone else. I'm just a bit lonely, I guess, Izuku says sheepishly. The man looked at this young boy confused. He couldn't be older than 14, so he should have plenty of friends. Along with that, what of his parents? My boy, why is that? He asked. My best friends are currently going to UA to train to be heroes, so I don't really have anyone to hang out with or talk with when I need to. They try to make time for me, but they can barely visit me every few weeks. Sighing, Izuku shrugs. I mean, we have the weekends for my quirk training, but even those have been cut down given that their school work has been heavier. But I'm happy for them because in a year I'll be right by their side training to be a hero, and then Mirio and I will be the best hero duo in the world. Izuku exclaims to the blonde. Izuku, seeing the confusion on the blonde man's face, goes on to explain who Mirio is. Mirio was my first real friend after I got put in an orphanage when my mom was killed in a villain attack a few years ago, and my dad wanted nothing to do with me, and everyone abandoned me for thinking I was quirkless. Without him I'm not sure I'd be where I am today. Blushing when he realizes how much he revealed, Izuku begins to apologize. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to talk so much, and I even forgot to introduce myself. I'm Izuku Midoriya. Pleasure to meet you. Toshinori Yagi has never been speechless, but right now, speaking to this kid, he can honestly say he has no words to convey what he's thinking. No, I apologize, I haven't even introduced myself. I am Toshinori Yagi. But if you don't mind me asking, are you really quirkless? Toshinori asks. Shaking his head, Midoriya explains, no, I have a quirk. A cool one too. I've just never shown anyone besides Mirio, Nijire and Tamaki. Those are my friends. You know the whole, unless you have a hero license then you're breaking the law thing. Well, my mom taught me to always follow that rule, and I have even after she died, Izuku says. Because of that, no one associates themselves with me just because I won't show my quirk to them, so they all assume I'm quirkless? My boy, that is quite admirable of you, but wouldn't it be easier to just show everyone what your quirk is, and stop the bullying? Oh. I promised my mom I would wait until I was got into a hero school, and I will, Izuku said with a fire in his eyes. The only reason I made an exception for Mirio is because we made a promise to get into UA together and become the best hero duo ever, and I don't intend on breaking that promise. This boy. Looking at the time, Izuku saw that it was almost nearing curfew and was mildly upset that he had to leave because it was nice having someone to talk to. Well, Mr. Yagi, it was nice talking to you, but I have to go, it's almost curfew and I don't really want to get in trouble with the person in charge at my orphanage, Izuku said with a smile that surprised Toshinori. This boy still has the spirit to smile even with everything he's been dealt with. He truly has the heart of a hero, Yagi thought as he watched Izuku walk away from him. What's got All Might frowning? I thought you were the hero that was supposed to always smile, Aizawa drawled. I met a boy yesterday. All Might says. Aizawa drops his coffee at All Might's confession. A what? All Might looked to his colleague to see why he dropped his coffee and realizes how he sounds. God no, Aizawa, I meant I talked to this teen yesterday who caught my attention. Not helping. Look, he sat next to me and had this look in his eye as if he had to grow up far faster than someone his age should have. And when I asked if he wanted to talk, I learned how much this kid had to deal with. All Might explains, I mean his mother dying from a villain attack, then his father abandoning him, putting him in an orphanage. Aizawa sips his newly made coffee, then taking a moment he looks to the number one hero. His name didn't happen to be Izuku Midoriya, did it? All Might couldn't hide his surprise even if he tried. How did you know that? Because I've been helping the kid with his quirk control since he was 13, Aizawa reveals. By now All Might wasn't sure he should even try to hide his surprise or let it out. Really? How did the kid even get access? I also felt bad for the kid and offered him access to UA's training facility the day I met him. Which coincidentally was also after the day I offered Mirio tickets for him to the sports festival on the condition they give me the picture they took dressed up as the Wild Wild Pussycats. First off, I need to see that picture. Second, if I didn't know any better, I would say you care about the boy Aizawa. All Might, I've known this kid for about a year and a half, and if anything were to happen to him, I would kill everyone I know than myself, Aizawa said with a straight face. My God, you really care for the boy. All Might said with a chuckle. Yeah, I hate it. I'm already halfway through the adoption papers. Phew, softy. Sir Night Eye Agency. Mirio. Yes, sir. You've done well with your time here, and your control over your quirk has improved immensely. I'm very proud of you, Sir Knight, I said before relieving Mirio from his office. As Mirio walked out, he couldn't help keeping the huge grin off his face. He knew he was improving, but to have someone like Sir acknowledge it was proof that all his training with Izuku and the help he was receiving from Sir himself wasn't for nothing. Izuku. I'm almost there. All Might, I believe I found you the perfect candidate for OFA, Sir Knight, I said over the phone. All Might nodded, forgetting Sir couldn't see him through the phone. He answered, I see. Give me a few days to look him over. I feel I found a good candidate too, he said, looking at a picture of a green-haired boy dressed in a ragdoll costume. Very well. Yes, I am on a roll. Thank you. Happy birthday, Izaburo. Happy birthday, Mirio. Wow. What are the odds you two would have birthdays on the same day in the same month? Nijire said, floating around the two best friends. You two really are like brothers. Tamaki nodded his head in agreement with a small smile in his face, remembering when he first found out about this. So, what are you doing for your birthday, Mirio? Tamaki asked. Mirio tapped his chin, thinking of what he could do for this special day. Before he would have a simple family dinner, but now, he had Izuku with him, so he should do something with him. Well, Tamaki, now that I have Izuku under my wing, I think I should do something special for my little friend. Would you like to join us? Oh, has Izuku never been invited to a birthday party or something? The boy asked. Ah, silly Tamaki, well yes, but also no. Izuku and my birthday are the same day, we're like twins except we're not, you know. So basically, two people with the same birthday? Tamaki specified. Yeah, two brothers with the same birthday? Tamaki wanted to tell Mirio that just because you share a birthday with someone doesn't mean you are technically related, but Mirio looks so happy to be sharing a birthday with Izuku. Amazing, Mirio, you're like twins, but not, he chuckled. Right? Now come on, let's go find my Izubro so we can celebrate our birthdays together. Mirio yelled, not realizing he had sunk through the sidewalk, causing Tamaki to have to run and catch up to the boy with his clothes. I know, right? It makes celebrating our birthdays together so much easier. Mirio yelled, pumping his fist, Izuku nodding his head, copying Mirio. Yeah, Mirio and I have been celebrating together since we first met and found out our birthdays were at the same time. Izuku grinned. Nijire and Tamaki had to close their eyes at the huge smiles the two boys were giving them, the light shining over them slightly blinding the duo. Too pure, they thought. So, what do you two usually do? Nijire asked, being the newest member of their trio. We're glad you asked, Nijire, Mirio said. We do a lot of stuff, ranging from the arcade to going to Tokyo to visit the Museum of All Might. Don't forget touring the Heroes Hall of Fame. Oh, that sounds like fun. What do you plan on doing today? Nijire asked, jumping around. Mirio scratched the back of his head, Izuku mimicking him, as they both looked at each other. We were planning on visiting the Museum of All Might again. Tamaki didn't even try to hide his chuckles, having expected that. Of course, you did. Happy birthday, Izubro. Happy birthday, Miribro. They really enjoy having the same birthday, don't they? Nijire giggled. Of course, Tamaki said sheepishly, looking at the two boys wrestling, the younger of the two losing miserably. I'm a little confused as to who we're dressing up as? Nijire asked as she looked at Tamaki in a red costume with a lightning bolt on it, Mirio in an orange and green ensemble with a weird trident, and Izuku with a blue and red suit with a S on the chest. Excellent question, Nijire, and we are glad you asked. Miro shouted, Izuku, if you would. Well, it's interesting really, because before the quirk era there was the pre-quirk era, as you know, Izuku began explaining. Nijire nodded her head, listening intently. Yeah, I think I remember hearing something about that, but what of it? Well, it's interesting because as it turns out most of those heroes were either not born from Earth, i.e. Superman, Mirio says, pointing to Izuku who posed with his arms akimbo. Was caused by some sort of experiment gone wrong, Izuku said, pointing to Tamaki. The Flash, Tamaki muttered, assuming a running position. Was part of an underwater civilization, Izuku continued. Aquaman, Mirio announced, dramatically pounding his trident down. Or was created by the gods themselves. Wonder Woman. Izuku yelled to Nijire, who was wearing an exact replica of Wonder Woman's suit. But that still doesn't explain why we're dressed as them? Or why there's a photographer over there? Or why these costumes feel so authentic? Mirio and Izuku at least had the decency to blush, while Tamaki thankfully was nice enough to hold back his laughter, already having dealt with their eccentrics. Oh, well, you see, Izuku looked away, unable to really explain their reasoning, left it to Mirio to tell Nijire. We just like to take pictures as these superheroes from time to time, Mirio said, a bit embarrassed. Yeah, we thought you'd like to join us, since we finally found someone to be our Wonder Woman, Izuku mumbled, kicking his foot back and forth. Nijire felt a sharp pain in her chest at the adorableness of these two hit her. They're too much for me, she thought. Oh, of course I'll be your Wonder Woman, my little Izukuin. But that doesn't explain the authenticity of these outfits. That'd be Tamaki, he's very good at sewing, Mirio said, smiling at his friend. Oh, yeah, he did our costumes last year too, Izuku said happily. Ah, you and Izuku hang these pictures up in your room, Nijire cooed. Of course, where else would they go? Mirio asked, looking at his friend confused. Well, actually mine go in my wallet. I rather not someone see these at the orphanage as much as I love dressing up with Mirio, Izuku says, showing all the pictures they've taken of them dressing up. My parents hang up the ones I take with Mirio and Izuku in the living room, Tamaki grimaced, Mirio and Izuku laughing at the boy's misfortune. Nijire nodded her head in understanding as she looked through the pictures Izuku had in his wallet, stopping at one in particular that had caught her eye. Wait a sec, did you and Mirio really dress up as All Might and Endeavor? Nijire said, trying to hold back her giggles but failing. Izuku merely nodded, while Mirio smiled, pulling out his framed version of the two. Izuku wanted to be All Might, but seeing as his quirk is pyrokinesis and he can actually set his face on fire, we figured he'd have to make the sacrifice. Mirio said, apologetic to the sulking boy. I still think you could have been Endeavor, Izuku muttered. Really, Izuku, really? And miss out on a mini Endeavor, Mirio points out, looking to the picture with a green-haired boy glaring while sporting a green fire mustache and flaming hair. No, I gotta agree with Mirio here, you look adorable, my little Izuku. You even got his glare right. And Mirio, wow, how did you get your hair like that? Nijire asked, pointing to the V-shaped hairstyle. Mirio's hair used to be longer in middle school, Izuku answered, remembering when Mirio used to wear ponytails. Yup, but eventually I cut it, unlike this bushy-haired kid, Mirio says, smiling. Well, I mean, I could always. Don't even think about it, Nijire says, grabbing a handful of the younger boy's curly hair that she was just running her hand through. I mean, what, I would never want to cut my hair, nope, no siree. Why would you even suggest something like that, Mirio, you monster? Izuku yells, breathing when Nijire lets go and goes back to running her hand through his hair. One day, Izuku thought, only to feel another tug and the older girl glare at him as though she could read his mind. Okay, maybe not. I figured I could do chapter about their birthdays being on the same day, and since they already did a photo shoot for the Wild Wild Pussycats, is it really so far-fetched that they wouldn't dress up as superheroes from pre-quirk eras and bring in Tamaki and Nijire into? Hope you like this. If you read the comments, Nijire is the majority for the relationship, so yeah, sorry for all you Itsuka shippers, hope you don't abandon me for that. And if you like my stuff, help a starving writer and hit up my Ko-fi or not, but I definitely appreciate it. I'm under the same username. And you're positive you want to adopt Izuku Midoriya? I mean, he's quirkless, a woman spoke with a hint of disdain in her voice from behind her desk. I see no reason why that would deter me from wanting to adopt the young man. If anything, your comments only make me want to adopt him faster, a tired-looking man in a black suit with his hair in a bun says. The woman begins to lightly sweat, not having expected this answer. Usually when someone hears one of their kids are quirkless, they immediately stop the paperwork and look for another kid with a quirk, even if it's a weak one. The fact this man has come out of the blue specifically requesting Izuku Midoriya is baffling. Kid's been here 7 years and no one has ever done this. Right, well, we'll just be conducting a few background checks, and once everything checks out we'll let you know when you can meet with Izuku, and if it seems like a fit then we'll need you to fill out some leftover paperwork, the woman stuttered, beginning to waver under the man's heated glare. Very well. I'll be waiting for the call, the man bowed. May I have a name for Izuku, I mean? Aizawa. Shota Aizawa. It was just the beginning of second year, and Izuku had already started seeing less of his best friends. It wasn't that bad considering they practically spent all of summer vacation with him, and they had the weekends for training at UA, but since internships were coming up, he knew that would change. I'm going to miss Nijire constantly ruining my chances of getting a date, he thought. The only upside was this left Izuku more time to focus on the Mirio and Midoriya road to UA plan, but unfortunately, he realized as much as he used it to work out converting it whenever he felt that it was becoming too easy, he needed something more. So, after a quick call to Mirio in which, of course, you're not bothering me, little bro, and if you really want to challenge yourself, try to do some sort of martial arts to make sure you don't fall behind on your power, which lead him to Kendo's martial arts dojo. Now, why does that name ring a bell? Izuku thought. Shrugging it off as paranoia, Izuku walked into the dojo where upon arrival he saw the girl who watched as his friends embarrassed him horribly in front of her, throwing a huge guy over her shoulder effortlessly. Now she has a lot of power, Izuku said, starry-eyed at the girl who just tossed a man 2 times her size over her shoulder. Got that right, Kendo's my best student, a huge guy with a black belt said, towering over Izuku. If you're looking to advance to the next belt then you gotta go through her. Izuku stared in awe at the girl in front of him. She looked no older than him, but she was taking down teens, bigger and older than her with such ease, he couldn't take his eyes off her. Her skills were so flawless. He smiled at the younger boy who couldn't stop looking at his daughter beat the crap at her opponent. So tell me, kid, are you only here to watch my daughter kick ass or sign up for karate lessons? Blushing, Izuku explains his need for something different than his current workout plan and his decision to choose karate as that format. The man nods his head in approval. Well, you made a good choice in choosing my dojo for a challenge. It's not easy advancing to each belt since you have to go through Kendo, so you'll have to train your ass off, which I'm sure is exactly what you want, yeah? He asked. Nodding his head vehemently at the guy, he smiles at Izuku, until the latter realizes these classes are way out of his pay range. Even with the small amount of money he makes bussing at the ramen shop, there's no way he'd be able to pay for the classes. Eyes dimming, he begins to walk away, not before thanking the man for his time, when the owner of the dojo calls Izuku back, requesting why he stopped his application. Izuku, not feeling like lying, explains his situation. I don't exactly have the money to pay for these classes. Well, what about your parents? They can't help you out? The man asks innocently. My mom's dead and my dad gave me up, so no, they can't, Izuku says roughly, then apologizing to the dojo master. Seeing sympathy in the man's eyes, Izuku shakes his head, refusing to be a charity case and running out before the man could say anything else. Unbeknownst to him, a certain girl had been watching him from afar and had seen him run out. Midoriya? Going up to her dad, Itsuka asks him about the boy who had just ran out, frowning. Figuring it wouldn't hurt to share what he found out about the boy, he tells her why the boy ran out. This sparks an idea in Kendo, which she tells her father about. Phrasing it as she wants to help the boy out, her father chuckles, agreeing to her teaching him karate for free on her own time. Already starting to act like a hero, Haritsuka. Thus, leading Kendo to looking for Izuku. How freaking hard can it be to find one green-haired guy? She thought after about half an hour in which she almost gave up, she had finally found him sitting alone on a bench frowning. When she reached out to him, she quickly apologized for making him fall on his, but then introduced herself. No, I remember you, Izuku said, blushing. My friends embarrassed me in front of you. He laughed, Itsuka doing the same. Well, to be fair, it was kind of adorable, she said before coughing into her hand. So, why were you looking for me? He asked. Well, my dad told me you were at our dojo, but then you left. Ignoring his frown, she continued on, and I just wanted to offer my services free of charge, she said. Why? Izuku asked. I can't pay you? Well, I wanted to get to know you more, and I believe I already said I'm doing this free of charge. Now come on, it'll be fun, Kendo said, smiling. As much as Izuku wanted to reject her offer, the smile she had on her face was enough for him to accept, and plus he wanted to see how fun the karate lessons would be. This isn't fun, you devil woman, Izuku said, breathing heavily on his back. Kendo was bent over laughing, not even trying to hide her amusement in taking down Izuku for the 5th time in a row. He'd been practicing his martial arts with Kendo for a month now, and despite all the work he'd done, he hadn't even gotten to his yellow belt. Come on, beefcake, get up. Practice makes perfect, she joked. Groaning, Izuku got up, ignoring the nickname she had been calling him since she had begun teaching him, already knowing what the result of this spar would be. Izuku barely muttered, devil woman, before he was flipped over Kendo's shoulder. Miri bro, help me. In the middle of presents, my class Mirio and the others were in the middle of an exam when all of a sudden Mirio stood up, interrupting the class. The only words muttered before he was told to sit down or fail the exam were, my Aizu brother's senses are tingling. Wow, Izuku, gotta say you've made absolutely no progress, Kendo laughed. Surprisingly, this wasn't the first time Kendo told him this, and in the short amount of time the two teens had gotten to know each other, they have grown close enough that Izuku eventually took her joking about his horrible karate skills in stride. Yeah. Well, not everyone is a second-degree black belt, Kendo, Izuku points out, rubbing his bruised back. I'm honestly starting to think you're just using me as a punching bag in replace of an actual one, he joked. Kendo shook her head with a frown on her face. For a moment he almost felt bad for accusing his trainer, no, his friend, of such a thing until she opened her mouth. Not true. Midoriya, I don't use punching bags, you're more like a practice dummy for me, she chuckled. Oh, you're so funny. Izuku deadpanned before falling to the floor in exhaustion. So, you've known Mirio since you were like 7? Kendo asked during their well-needed break. Izuku smiled and nodded at the girl, getting some of his sweat on her, which he quickly apologized for. Grimacing, she wipes the sweat on her face before asking how they met. It was so cool, I was getting beat up by one of my bullies when he just pops up from the ground, stopping the kid from blowing me up. Izuku recalls with a fist in the air. Then blushing he continues, I won't lie, it was a little awkward because he was naked, but he's still my hero. Well, he sounds awesome and I can't wait to meet him. Mirio. When are we gonna see my little Izuku-kun? We haven't seen him in so long. Nijire whined. Mirio tapped his chin, thinking of their schedule and if they had any time off soon. Well, now that I think about it, we could probably walk him home after our internships today. Mirio shouted with his fist in the air. Hey, do you think he'll catch on that I like him? Nijire asked Mirio, tapping his back repeatedly. Mirio couldn't help shaking his head, not even trying to hold back his laughter. Oh Nijire, if there's one thing you should know about Izubro, it's that he is very, very oblivious to even the most obvious advances. Really? He's right. Izuku once went out on a date with a girl and didn't even realize it was a date until the girl asked if they could go on another one sometime, Tamaki told Nijire, smiling at the memory of a red-faced Izuku. Oh man, really, what happened? Nijire asked with a pout. Well, let's just say there was no follow-up date once she found out he didn't even know they were on a first date, Mirio laughed. Wow, so all my attempts at flirting probably seem like jokes to Izuku-kun, huh? Nijire asked. Yup, the two said in unison. For a moment the girl was silent, then the two saw a glint in her eye as she clenched her fist. Then I guess I'll just have to be more obvious. Mirio and Tamaki shrugged but followed along with the shorter girl in a show of support. Don't worry, Nijire will help you win over our little oblivious cinnamon roll. Mirio said, smiling. Wow, so you expelled your whole class this year. Izuku said, wide-eyed at his elder. Yeah. It's nothing impressive, they just showed no potential, Aizawa said, looking away a bit embarrassed. Currently it was just the two practicing with Izuku's quirk since Mirio and the others were still at their internship. Mirio said he would be by to pick up his little Izubro when he was done with Sir. Whoa! I didn't know teachers at UA could do that. Aizawa was speechless, looking at the boy in front of him stare at him like he just beat up All Might, and it was all because he was able to expel his entire class of first years. Well, UA gives their teachers the freedom to exercise their teachings in any way they see fit. So yeah. So cool. I can't wait till I go to UA with Mirio. Izuku said, jumping up with a fist pump. Neither can I, kid, neither can I, Aizawa said with a smirk, having heard from the orphanage that today they would be telling Midoriya about his request for adopting him. He would have told the kid himself, but he wanted it to be a surprise. Now it was set up to the kid if he wanted Aizawa as his dad. Midoriya had just finished a session with Eraser Head, dead tired. Mirio and the others meeting up with the boy once they were done with their internships to walk him home despite his protests that they needn't go out of their way to do that. Well, technically Tamaki and Mirio walked. Nijire made me carry her on my back, citing she was tired. You guys know you don't have to walk me home all the time, right? I know you're busy. Izuku said, smiling, shifting so he could carry Nijire better. Of course, we know, but as your honorary brothers it is our duty to make sure you make it home. Mirio yelled, Tamaki nodding his head. And as your girlfriend it is my job to make sure no one messes with you, Nijire said, ruffling Izuku's hair. But, you're not my girlfriend, Izuku said, confused. I don't remember that, Nijire said. Izuku merely shook his head at Nijire, secretly enjoying her teases, and smiling at his friend's concern for him, deciding to let them continue the walk to the orphanage with him. The four continued to talk about anything and everything as they neared the orphanage. Once they entered with Izuku, they made sure to watch him check in. Waving goodbye, the three went to depart until they heard Midoriya's signature sobbing. Turning to their best friend, they saw the boy on his knees clutching a piece of a paper that the receptionist had given him. Reaching the younger boy first, Mirio hugged Izuku, asking him what was wrong, only for the boy to thrust the paper into his hands. Mirio gasped at the adoption forms in his hands and the person who was requesting to adopt him. Aizawa-sensei. I'm getting adopted, Miribro. Nijire and Tamaki gasping when they hear their former homeroom teacher's name. Look to the paper Mirio hands to them. Once reading it to make sure they aren't being pranked, Nijire begins to tear up for the boy she likes finally getting a home, and Tamaki smiling fondly at his best friend. The next day Shota Aizawa got a call saying that his adoption request was approved and, no, he didn't have to meet the boy. Midoriya seemed to be more than happy to be adopted by him. All he needed to do was fill out a few more papers and he would be Izuku Midoriya's adoptive father. And if Aizawa ran out of his apartment still in his cat pajamas to meet Midoriya, well, no one brought it up as they paid more attention to the green-haired broccoli boy who was getting adopted after 7 years. Mirio, Nijire, and Tamaki standing behind Midoriya, throwing confetti at the two in celebration. I know it's so interesting how much we've yet to learn about quirks, Izuku said with eyes shining at the girl in front of him. Indeed, I have to say it's nice to meet someone else who has an interest in learning more about quirk theory, a girl with onyx eyes and a spiked ponytail says smiling. Oh yeah, I mean most of the kids at my school just focus on playing with their quirks, so they don't really care much about this, Izuku said smiling. The girl looks to her watch sighing, and in an apologetic voice tells the boy who was looking to buy the same book on quirk theory as her, that she must be leaving. While it was nice talking to you, Midoriya, I must be on my leave, biting her lip as if contemplating her next move. The girl begins to look for a pen and paper to write down her number. Oh yeah, I understand it was nice talking to you too, Yaoyorozu, Izuku says smiling. I hope we can do this again sometime. Before the girl could finish her sentence, three voices cut her off, causing Izuku's face to drain of color. So close. Izuku-an, Nijire yelled, calling the attention of the girl about to write down her number for the green-haired boy. Izubro, we found you. A second cartoonish face yelled, rushing from the ground towards the same target. Izuku, a third voice whispered, slowly slinking at the same person who, when looking closely, you could see a tear of frustration begin to run down his face, with a giant smile begin to erupt on his face, contradicting his frustration at the embarrassment he was going to be treated to, in front of the hot girl. Looking over his shoulder, he saw the girl still standing there, a small smile forming on her face, oblivious to what was going to happen. Okay, Izuku, just hurry up, grab her number and just get her out of here before Nijire and the others get heat. Too late, he sweat dropped. Oh, well, who do we have here, Izubro? Mirio said, popping up from the ground naked, prompting Izuku to shield the girl he just met eyes with until Tamaki showed up with Mirio's pants. Why, thank you, Tamaki. Now, then, Izubro, aren't you going to introduce us to this girl? Mirio said, resuming his questioning as he put his pants on. Ooh, Izuku-an, what a pretty girl, Nijire said. Thank you, Yaoyorozu replied, blushing at the compliment from the older girl. Of course, you would only choose the best for your harem. Yaoyorozu choked on her spit when she looked at the girl in front of her, then the boy behind her whose jaw was dropped. Before Izuku could tell her Nijire was joking, the black-haired girl was already running off away from the boy, her phone already out, not planning on being part of his harem. And she's gone, Izuku sighed. When Izuku went to berate Nijire and the others, he couldn't help but chuckle as he heard the other laughing hysterically at Nijire's words. Oh my gosh, Izuku, I'm so sorry, I didn't think she'd actually believe me, Nijire said, red-faced. Oh boy, looks like we lost another girl for our little Izubro, Mirio said with tears in his eyes, not at all sorry, because of the hilariousness of the situation. If it helps Izuku, there is a perfectly good reason to why I do this. And that is, Izuku deadpants. To see if the girl is interested enough in you that she is willing to deal with the three of us, Nijire says as she, Mirio and a very reluctant Tamaki huddle in a group hug, eventually grabbing Izuku. I mean, how many potential girlfriends have you lost because they were unable to handle us? Nijire asked. Well, don't answer that, Nijire says quickly. Yes, obviously they aren't that into you if they can't handle us. Since we are a package deal, Izuku, and Mirio said sagely. Izuku stayed quiet, now understanding why they constantly but in every conversation he had with a girl causing a huge scene, and felt a tug in his chest. He looked at them smiling because of course these three would find a way to make embarrassing him have a heartfelt meaning. Jerks, finding loopholes, Izuku thinks. At that point, as he saw his friends looking at him with goofy smiles on his face, Izuku decided he couldn't be mad at his friends. Well, guess that makes sense. Don't worry, Izuku, you and I can always do a long-distance relationship, Nijire said, while Mirio and Tamaki laughed aloud at Izuku's blushing face. Yes, perfect. And if you date Nijire, then the Tamaki and I can most likely. Probably it's Tamaki interjected. Most definitely will be able to constantly join you two whenever you hang out, since we already do already, he said joyously. Mirio took this moment to help Nijire, as he promised he would, get with Izuku. Just as he was his little Izubro's wingman, he promised to be Nijire's. Don't I get a say in this? Izuku said, finally able to say when he sees Mirio, Tamaki and Nijire fist pumping the air in joy. Oh, Are you saying you don't like Nijire? You don't think she's pretty, adorable, and all around the perfect girl for you? Mirio finished. Well, I mean, Izuku looked to the girl in question, pouting at him. No fair, Mirio. You know I think all that because you read my diary, Izuku said, stomping his foot. Ah, my little Izuku has a diary and he writes about me in it. You only make me like you more, Izuku-kun, Nijire said, jumping into Izuku's arms. Mirio and Tamaki were off to the side, smiling at the older girl who was making their honorary younger brother blush like crazy. Taking a deep breath, Izuku looks to Mirio and the others, confused. Well, what now? Well, now you answer, Nijire. Do you want to be her boyfriend? Mirio said. Well, I mean, if she wants to be my girlfriend, I'd be a fool to turn her down, Mirio. We all know she's way out of my league. I'm glad you acknowledged that, Mirio exclaimed. Tamami and Nijire nodding their head in agreement. All right then, Nijire, I will go out with you, Izuku said, smiling, almost falling to the floor when the hypergirl tackles him in a hug. I think we should celebrate to the beginning of the relationship of our very own Izuku and Nijire. Tamaki murmured. Our little Izubro has a girlfriend, Mirio yells, tears flowing down his face. We need to celebrate. No, we need to throw a party. No, we need to. Mirio was stopped in his tracks by Tamaki and Nijire, who agreed that a celebration was in order. Nijire, today is Friday? Mirio announced. Yeah, I know, the girl says, confused. Shaking his head, he realizes if she has been hanging out with them, she still has a way to go until she is used to their eccentricities. Today is Friday, which means Izuku and I have dinner at my house. It begins to dawn on her what he is saying. Wait, what are the odds I have a family dinner on Fridays too? Ah, did you hear that, Izuku? She thought we were going to let her go after you and her just got together. Mirio laughed, Tamaki joining in, and Izuku shaking his head in embarrassment. Oh man, she's so funny. Good choice in girlfriend, Izubro, Mirio says, wiping tears from his face. Well, I mean, technically she chose me, Izuku mumbled. What are you talking about? Nijire asked, trying to figure out what she's missing. She's been hanging out with the three boys long enough to think she knows enough of their weekly rituals. What could she be missing? You are going to have dinner at my house and meet my parents? Mirio said, smiling. Come on now, we're having katsudon, Izubro's favorite. But you should already know that, Mirio says in a no-nonsense tone. A bit surprising since he's never spoken to her like that before. Oh, right, let me just tell my parents, Nijire said, smiling, going to call her parents and give them a heads up she won't be showing up for dinner. Now then, on to my house, everyone. Power, Mirio yelled. Pow Irgager, Tamaki and Izuku yelled, confusing anyone passing by as to why they were screaming in the middle of a shopping center. Nijire had been hanging out with Mirio and the others for at least 2 years, so she really thought she knew almost everything there was to know about them. Once entering the Togata's house, she realized she was very wrong. She had met Mirio's parents before, so she didn't expect anything different from any other time, but apparently once you begin dating their son's honorary brother, that all changes. 1 second she's in a nice and cozy 2-story straight out of a magazine home eating katsudon, the next she's being interrogated by the Tin family. So, you're dating our little Izuku-kun, are you, Nijire? Mrs. Togata asked, expressionless. Finally made your move? Nijire took a sip of her water so she could rid her dry throat. Wise, ma'am. Mrs. Togata, please don't scare away Nijire before we even go on our first date, Izuku whined. The mother Tin gasped, looking offended. Izuku would say such a thing. Why, I never, my little Izu. Here I'm just trying to make sure this girl is good for you and you think I'm trying to scare her away. The nerve. Sipping her wine, the mother of Mirio looks to the other teens for help. Do you think I was being scary? Of course, not, Mrs. Togata. You were being the right amount of protective, Tamaki whispers. Yes, our little Izubro deserves no one but the best. Continue on, mother. Mirio says, right beside his mother. Traitor, Izuku mutters. Thank you, boys. As I was saying, you think you're good enough for my little Izuku-kun. You're wrong. No one is good enough. But since Izuku likes you, I approve. She finishes with a wide smile. Izuku stared at the woman he's come to see as a second mother in horror. Nijire doing the same. Mirio was smiling widely in approval and Tamaki was eating katsudon. Thank you, ma'am. Nijire whispered. Yay, on to dessert. Mirio and Tamaki yell. Dessert? Izuku yelled, momentarily forgetting what Mrs. Togata had said, instead his excitement for Mirio's mother-delicious strawberry cake taking over. Dessert? Nijire whispered. Can't wait to hear what Aizawa-sensei has to say to you dating his adopted son. Mirio chuckles. Nijire face falling at his comment. So, this is your room. We can go shopping later to fill it with things you want, Aizawa said looking away. Izuku smiled wide at the bare room with a twin bed. Already he could picture hanging up all the pictures he and Mirio had taken over the years, Tamaki joining in on the photos and then Nijire. It's great, can't wait, Aizawa. Izuku said, choking up. Mirio and the others stood hugging Izuku, taking in the scene. Ah, this is too much for me. Izuku, I think I'm going to cry. Mirio yelled. What are you three doing here, may I ask? Aizawa deadpanned. The three older teens gasped at their teacher's words. Eraserhead, we're here for moral support. This is a big day for Izuku. Mirio yells, not noticing Izuku snort at their excuse of wanting to see what Aizawa's apartment looks like. Aha, well, if you wouldn't mind leaving us so we could get acquainted, that'd be great. The three looked to Izuku to confirm this was okay. Seeing him nod, they saluted to the younger boy, the exception being Nijire, who was quick to give him a kiss on the cheek, which left Izuku covering his face and Aizawa looking at the girl as she left. So, why did you adopt me? Izuku asks. I'll be honest, kid, when Togata first told me about you I wasn't sure what to think. But then he shows me that picture of you and him dressed up as Shino and the others, and I can't help but want to get to know you, he said with a shrug. Izuku looks to the older man skeptical. That's it? Then he tells me how you've been bullied because you follow the quirk laws to a T because of something your mom told you before she died, and then the massive potential I see in you, and I think this kid deserves better. This future hero deserves a family, and yeah, you may have Mirio, Nijire and Tamaki, but you need a real home with a real father figure, and I may not be the best at it, but I'll be damned if I don't try to be one for you, Aizawa says. By the end of his speech, Izuku is crying, hearing from this man he's barely known for about a year, that he cares for him that much, and sees potential in him. It feels nice. And he said he'd be a father for him, some things he's wanted since his dad gave him up because he didn't want his family in America to find out about him. Thank you. Thank you so much, Izuku says. You don't need to thank me for something that should have been done a long time ago, Aizawa says, before adding, now on to the fact you're dating Hadu. I'm so happy for you, Izuku. Kendo said, a bright smile on her face as the boy in front of her retells the story of his adoption to her. Izuku, uncaring of the tears running down his face, smiles at his friend. I know, I can't believe I've finally been adopted, and by a pro hero no less. Kendo went to hug the boy. Honestly, Midoriya, if anyone deserves this, it's you. Now if you would only get better at karate. The girl ducked under the boy's punch, laughing at the boy's pout. Sorry, Midoriya, I had to. Sure, you did, the boy mumbled, trying but failing to hide his smile. Aizaku-an, Nijire yelled, calling the attention of a green-haired boy discussing other styles of martial arts he might be better at with an orange-haired girl by the beach. Aiza bro, we found you. A second cartoonish face yelled, rushing from the ground towards the same target. Izuku, a third voice whispered, slowly slinking at the same person who, when looking closely, you could see a giant smile erupting on his face until it dawned on him that he was most likely going to be embarrassed again in front of Itsuka Kendo by his best friends. Doesn't this feel familiar? Izuku thought. Looking over his shoulder, he saw the girl still standing there, a small smile forming on her face. Doesn't this feel familiar? She thought. Okay, Izuku, she's your friend, so maybe she'll be okay with your weirdo friends. Who are you kidding? Just get her out of here before Nijire and the others freak her out. Oh, Icho, what do we have here? Mirio said, popping up from the ground naked, prompting Izuku to shield Kendo's eyes until Tamaki showed up with Mirio's pants. Why thank you, Tamaki. As I was saying, what do we have here? Mirio said, resuming his questioning as he put his pants on. I think our little Aizaku-an was trying to flirt with someone who wasn't me, Nijire said, gasping dramatically, while Mirio and Tamaki laughed aloud at Izuku's blushing face and Kendo's bemused face. Is our long-distance relationship not working for you? Nijire pouted. What the? No, I swear I'm happy with us, really. I would never. Izuku spluttered, This is Kendo, remember the one who I told you was helping me learn martial arts? Izuku said, red-faced, when he realized she was just joking. Izuku looked at the girl in front of him, poking fun, smiling. You're gonna be the death of me, Nijire, he sighed. Kendo looked to the four, expressionless, holding back her laughter at the eccentricities of the older teens. Wow, we're gone training to be heroes for a few months, and look at Izuku breaking girls, namely Nijire's, hearts, Mirio jokes, and after all I did to get you two together. What are you talking about? I haven't done anything. Izuku yells, and all you did was say you two are dating now and Tamaki and I are tagging along on your dates, Miri bro. Semantics, Mirio says. This is a long-distance relationship, Izuku. We can never be sure, Nijire says, winking, then looking to the orange-haired girl. You should watch out, Kendo. This beefcake is a little flirt. Before we started dating, all he ever did was flirt with girls, Nijire says, trying to hold in her laughter but failing. Izuku scoffs at his girlfriend who was just messing with him. No, I'm not. Even before we were dating you wouldn't even let me flirt with anyone to even see if I could. Kicking a pebble, he points to the girl accusingly. You scared away every girl I tried to talk to. Remember that one girl who I was talking to? She had that spiked ponytail? Nope, doesn't ring a bell, Nijire says with an innocent face, although she totally does. No, I don't give me that face, I know you do. I had just finished a conversation with her about quirk theory when she was about to give me her number, then you pounced on my back and said, oh nice one Izuku-and she'll be a great addition to our harem, and made her run away before I could tell her you were joking. Izuku couldn't help but chuckle at the memory, even if he was disappointed he didn't get the hot girl's number back then. Oh wells, at least Nijire is giving me a shot, for some reason. Who said I was joking about wanting the harem back then? Nijire said seriously, before bursting out laughing at Izuku's and Kendo's red face. Not funny, Nijire, Izuku says with his face covered. It kind of is, Mirio says, smiling. To be fair, Nijire was throwing out huge hints about wanting to date you that you were oblivious to, Tamaki whispered, unfortunately ignored by the others who were still making fun of Izuku. While Izuku doesn't even try to hide his groan directed towards his friends. Kendo smiles softly at her friend, who looks happier than she's seen him in the 2 months they've been training. It was spring break and Mirio had said that he wanted to train with Izuku like old times. Aizawa had said it was alright since he had gotten good control over his quirks, so here he was on a Saturday heading to the beach. Izuku agreed it'd be nice to have some one-on-one training, except when he got to the beach, he didn't see just his Miri bro, he saw Nijire and Tamaki too. He didn't mind, of course, he never really trained with those two. He was just curious as to what they would be doing with them. Ah, Izubro, nice to see you arrive. Are you ready for your training? Mirio yelled. Sure bro, but what are we doing exactly? Izuku asked, confused. We are going to do a 10 kilometers run following this route around Nizutafu and carrying these weights, Mirio said, holding up a hiking bag. Okay, but why are there only 2 bags of weights and 4 of us? Mirio looked to the side, before looking to Izuku guiltily. Well, I kinda forgot your backpack. Izuku's sweat dropped. Looks like this run was gonna be a breeze. But don't worry, that's why I called Nijire here. See, at first it was only going to be you, Tamaki and I, but then when I realized I forgot your weights, I figured what's the next best thing for you to run and carry? Izuku could already feel a drop in his stomach at Mirio's next words. Nijire. While Nijire is a bit heavier than our weights. Hey, I'm sure she'll still be light enough for you to run the route with no problems. Mirio shouts, while him and Tamaki put on their backpacks. Mirio's looking far heavier than his friends. But, I mean, Nijire on my back. I don't know, Izuku said, stuttering as he finally took stock in what his girlfriend was wearing. She's only wearing a sports bra and gym shorts. Really short gym shorts, he thought. Be a man, Izuku, and carry your girlfriend around Japan. Mirio joked. Now come on, if we finish in time, we can eat at the American restaurant All Might likes. Mirio says as an incentive. Apparently, it's the right thing to say as Midoriya goes to scoop Nijire onto his back and begins to jog his way to the restaurant. The last thing they see before he disappears is Nijire sending them a thumbs up. I knew that would work, Mirio says, smiling. Should we run after him? Tamaki asks. Nah, I already ordered a taxi. Aizawa was new at being a dad, so he wasn't sure how to react to certain things. He knew a few ground rules like not letting the older girl his adopted son is dating go into his room with the door closed or letting him stay out past a certain time. He still hasn't figured out a good curfew for Midoriya, but he's working on it. This is where his dilemma lies. It's nothing big, it's just, he constantly sees Midoriya go out without a jacket or a sweater, wearing the bare minimum. He's unsure if maybe he needs to buy the kid more clothes because he doesn't want to ruin them or something, but he's certain in this whether the kid must be freezing. He's tried approaching him, but all he gets is an "I'm fine." Probably doesn't want to seem like a burden, he thinks. Soon Aizawa will learn it's quite the opposite. It was extra windy today and 3 of 4 teens were especially cold. The odd one out being a freckled-faced green-haired boy, who was currently being squished in a group hug for his body warmth. While Izuku was just wearing a thin long sleeve with jeans and his signature red shoes, he was perfectly fine in this weather. Meanwhile, his best friends and girlfriend were freezing. "It's really unfair you don't get cold, my little Izuku-kun," Nijire says, smiling. Well, to be fair, Izubro's quirk grants him a certain advantage in this type of weather. He playfully glares, so it's not really him but his quirk that lets his body emit heat and keep us warm. Mirio cheers. Nijire looks to Mirio, then Izuku, who stopped to rub the back of his head embarrassed. "You mean to tell me we have our own little heater then?" Nijire said with a huge smile. "Indeed," Mirio said, smiling back. "Seriously guys, you guys already use me to cook marshmallows," Izuku protested weakly. "Please, you know you love when we do that," Nijire said, hugging Izuku tighter. When the younger boy didn't answer, the 3 older teens took his silence as a yes, laughing at his admittance. As Izuku and the others neared his home, he couldn't believe he said that, his home, he finally had a home. Anyways, as they neared his house, they saw a stoic Eraserhead standing outside bundled up like the other 3 teens. Slowing their pace, the 4 teens looked to each other wondering why their sensei would look so serious at them. "Midoriya, please wear a sweater when you go out. I couldn't stand it if you were to get sick while under my care," Aizawa said, eyes softening. Izuku finally understanding why his adoptive father was standing outside and with a sweater in his hand turned red. "Aizawa, I'm so sorry if I worried you, but the thing is I don't really like bundling up." "That may be, but you'll get SI. No, you see my quirk makes my body temperature very high, so I don't really need to wear so many layers of clothes," Izuku explained. Aizawa eyes Izuku for a moment to see if he were lying. When he saw no signs of the boy trying to deceive him, he sighed and nodded his head. "Okay, if that's the case then I'll let you not bundling up slide, but next time let me know about something like this. I'm new to this fatherhood stuff and I was worried you didn't want to ruin your clothes and didn't think you could ask me for any." No, I'm sorry. I promise from now on I'll tell you if I need anything." Izuku bowed, the others following for some reason. Aizawa chuckled seeing his loyal friends copy him. "Alright, thanks kiddo. You guys can go back to doing whatever you were doing now." The 4 kids saluted before leaving. "Thank you, Aizawa." Eraserhead. Sensei. Each one calling him something different before leaving. It was time to go back to school as the 3 older teens sadly acknowledged before leaving Izuku. Mirio and Tamaki squeezing Izuku to death before stepping away for Nijire to say her goodbye. "Oh, I'll miss being able to constantly visit you, Izuku," Nijire said before kissing Izuku. Izuku blushed at the action, still not used to the older girl's signs of affection. "I'll miss you too, Nijire," the younger boy said, a bit dizzied from the kiss. "Oh, looks like our Nijire here has managed to take our Aizu brother's breath away," Mirio teased. "I'd prefer if you didn't do it in my house," Aizawa said, expressionless. "Oh my gosh, we're sorry, Aizawa-sensei, we're going to leave now. Come on, Mirio, Tamaki. Bye, Izuku-kun." "Oh man, that's embarrassing. Why didn't you tell me Aizawa-sensei was still there?" Nijire yelled, running out with Mirio and Tamaki on her heel laughing. Izuku, still a bit dazed, barely noticed Aizawa asking him something until he heard snapping in his face. "Wah. I asked if you'll be okay to go back to school, right? Because I can take a few days off. I have a lot of vacation days and Midnight and Present Mike already know about you, so they said they'd take my shifts so I can spend more time with you," Aizawa said to Izuku. Izuku smiled at the man he was beginning to see as a father before shaking his head in thanks. "It's alright, I've been going to school alone for a while now, so this won't be any different," he smiled. Aizawa rubbed the back of his head, unsure at first. "Alright then, just give me a call if you need anything and I'll be right there, okay?" Okay, he answered, happy at being cared for by a parental figure. Well. If it isn't Deku, Bakugo sneered. Tell me, Deku, where have you been going after classes these past few months? Bakugo ordered. Izuku rolled his eyes at his former friend. And why should I tell you? Because I want to make sure a quirkless fool like you isn't trying to work their way into getting into UA by doing something on the side, he growled. Why does it even matter what I'm doing to better my chances of getting into UA? I'm not bothering you, am I? Because I'm the only one who's supposed to get in, he says. Izuku scoffs at the boy's pretentious attitude. A hero shouldn't act the way he does, but he figures every hero has some shitty origin story. He just wishes Bakugo didn't involve him in it. Look, I work out after class with Mirio and the others, then I go home. Happy, he asks. Pfft, you mean you go to the orphanage? Bakugo taunts. Izuku doesn't flinch at the insult this time, not now that he has a real home to go to. Oh, I mean the home who adopted me, he grinned. Shock fell upon Bakugo's face. It's been 8 years since Izuku's been in the orphanage, so he didn't think he would ever get adopted. Finding out he had was a shock, but also in a way a relief. Despite the harsh friendship they had, Bakugo will admit no one deserved to be in an orphanage for so long. Hearing the nerd finally got adopted was nice to hear. Well, congrats, then Bakugo says, looking away. The boy across from him stood shocked. He wasn't sure he quite heard correctly, but he thinks he heard Bakugo tell him congratulations on being adopted. I'm outta here, nerd, just don't apply to you today, got it? And there goes the moment, Izuku thinks. So, he congratulates you for getting adopted, then called you a nerd and said not to apply to you, Kendo recalled, while Izuku ordered their ramen. Yeah, it was weird. I mean, I know he's not gonna be my best friend, but for a second he seemed like he was actually happy I was adopted. Well, that's pretty weird considering you said he made fun of you for it for so many years, she said, bewildered. I know, right? So how goes your training for UA? I mean, I know you told me you don't show your quirk because it's illegal, but didn't you say that you were getting some help with training at UA? Yeah. I mean, I'm nowhere near Mirio's level, but I've learned how to control my quirk a lot better than I used to, she said happily. That's great to hear. Now you just need to improve on your martial arts, Kendo said with a laugh as the boy pouted. Yeah, whatever. You better watch it sooner or later, I'm gonna be surpassing the master, he chuckled. Yeah, I'll be waiting for the day that happens happily, Kendo smiled. I believe he would be your best bet as your successor, Toshinori, a dog, mouse, bear said. A skinny blonde man hums as he looks at a picture of a tin boy. Actually, there's someone else who would be a good candidate too, he says, his mind going back to the meeting of the green-haired teen. I just need to meet him again to verify it, he says, once describing the boy. Well, what do you know? That can easily be arranged, Nizu says. Aha, I can't turn it off, Izuku yells as fire shoots out of his mouth. Calm down, Izubro. Mirio yells, chasing after his little bro naked when he begins to phase through the ground. Nijire, maybe you should use wave on Izuku to make the fire surrounding us die down, Taki whispered from his corner. Oh, good idea, Nijire said, fist pumping the air. Ring wave. Nijire yells, blasting a wave towards Izuku and Mirio, extinguishing the fire surrounding them while also crashing the two boys into his gym wall. Oh, I think I overdid it. She cringed. We're okay. Izuku groaned, Mirio putting a thumbs up alongside the younger boy. These are my two options for a successor for OF8, Skinny Might chuckles, from where he hides behind a pillar watching the four teens run around panicking over destroying half of Gym Gamma. 3 years ago, Mirio, Nijire and Tamaki had just surprised Izuku with a visit at the beach during one of their rare moments off from their schoolwork. Since it was their first year, they were still getting the hang of balancing their schoolwork while trying to better their quirks. As it stands, they were on the bottom of the totem pole. Izubro, Izukuan, Izuku. 3 voices simultaneously yelled as they ran towards a younger bushy-haired boy who was currently lifting trash that was reappearing on the beach. Izuku turned towards the voices calling for him, a giant grin appearing on his face as he saw his best friends' faces after months of only texting of FaceTiming. Dropping the trash he had in hand, he ran towards his friends, jumping for a group hug. To anyone else the scene would look a bit childish, but for those 4 it was heartwarming. Mirio, I didn't know you guys were visiting. Of course not, that ruins what we call a surprise, Mirio jokes before looking at the trash his little bro was cleaning. Ah, and I see you're not letting up on our road to your plan. Nicely done, my little apprentice. Mirio said with a smile on his face, causing Midoriya to smile. Of course, not I still have a few years to go, but I'm gonna make sure I use that time wisely. Power, the other three yell. So how goes the quirk control? Nijire asks. Well, I still don't use it that much now that the junk here is gone, so people might catch me, which is why I kinda let the junk build up every now and then so I can practice, then I clean it up, Izuku says. The three teens looked at Izuku, making him feel as though perhaps he shouldn't have been doing that before they laughed hysterically. Oh, Izabro, only you would think to do something so naughty so you can practice quirk control. I like it, Mirio says with a thumbs up. Well done, I mean not only are you cleaning up nicely, but you're becoming more of a little beefcake, Nijire says happily. Izuku blushing heavily as he hears his friend's words, while his chest puffs proudly as Mirio's words. Then looking to Tamaki for his opinion. Smart, the quiet boy says. Realizing that was all he was going to get, Izuku thanks him before asking them how goes their first year, a topic that brings a smile on his face as he hears about how much they enjoy their classes and the pro heroes who teach them. That's so cool. I can't wait to join you guys, Izuku says with a smile on his face. His friends all voicing their agreement. It was in that moment of excitement that the friends noticed something curious. Looking closely, they saw that as Izuku began to become more excited, his body was starting glow green. No, not glow, burn a emerald color. Surprise was etched on their faces as the boy was still oblivious to his body slowly becoming covered by emerald flames. Hey guys, is anybody else feeling a bit hot? Izuku says as he fans himself, not even acknowledging the flames covering his arms. No, but that might be because your body's on fire. Nijire yells, panicking. What are you talking about? Izuku says, I can only light my fist and feel how my body's on fire. Running around in circles, Izuku beings to panic, causing his other friends to panic. Izabro's on fire. What's going on over there? A woman asked as she watched what looked like three older teens dumping sand on top of a younger boy who was on fire. This boy randomly caught on fire while talking to those kids. Swear these kids do the weirdest drugs, the old street vendor said before going back to his paper. The woman looked at the old man before looking back at the four teens who were now having the boy stop, drop and roll on the beach with the same results. Okay then, the woman said before going back to her jog. I'm on fire, my body is on fire, my clothes are burning away. Izuku yelled while running in a circle while waving his arms crazily in the air. Nijire and Mirio still chasing after him, trying to calm him down. Izabro, stop, drop and roll. Throw sand on him. Isn't he fireproof? Tamaki whispered from where he stands on the side. Izuku yelled before rolling back and forth on the sand while Nijire and Mirio threw buckets of sand on top of Izuku so he'll stop being on fire. Where did the sand buckets come from, Mirio? I don't know, I thought you knew, Mirio says to Nijire. Shrugging their shoulders, they continue to throw buckets of sand on the younger boy who is still on fire, only stopping when Mirio gets the bright idea to toss him in the ocean, which extinguishes him. 20 minutes later. We never speak of this again, Izuku says, drenched with sand sticking to him. After he came out of the water and had calmed down, he realized that the fire never actually harmed him, and he was never in any real danger. Oh, but Izuku, we shall bring this up whenever we get the chance, Nijire says, pulling his cheek while also wiping off the sand in his hair. Yeah, can't believe you didn't remember you were fireproof. Your quirk is pyrokinesis. You can light your face on fire like Endeavor. Mirio laughed, patting his half-burnt shirt to make sure it was no longer on fire. Tamaki looked at the three teens, shaking his head. No one ever listens to reason, he reasoned. It's not my fault. This is a new development. I've never lit my whole body on fire, so it was new and shocking, he pouted. Don't worry, Izuku, we'll be here every step of the way through your awkward phases of learning your quirk, Nijire said with a Cheshire grin. Don't put it that way. Izuku yells while blushing. Present. Babe, do the thing, Nijire said, jumping up and down. Do I have to? Izuku whined. Nijire pouted at the boy for a mere 2 seconds before Izuku looked away, unable to resist his girlfriend's pout. Grumbling, the boy walked away a few steps so he could better prepare himself, then giving a thumbs up to his friends repeated the phrase he and the others had gotten off from an old comic book. Flame on. His entire body then getting covered in a layer of emerald flames. So cool, the three older teens yelled, before pulling out sticks with marshmallows on the end of them and shoving them towards the younger boy, ignoring the roll of his eyes and the twitch of his lips. You have a nerdy son, you realize that, right? Shota Midnight said as she looked around the apartment at all the pictures he had of Izuku dressed up as heroes with Mirio, and Tamaki, and eventually Mirio, Tamaki and his now girlfriend Nijire. Shut up, he's amazing and you know it, Aizawa said as he hid a small grin behind his scarf, remembering how secretive he and the others acted while sneaking out with their costumes. So, who's the little listener dressing up as this year? Chizashi said as he walked out from the kitchen of Shota's kitchen. Can't say. They left before I could ask. My guess is they want to surprise us or something, Aizawa said nonchalantly. Both Midnight and Present Mike smirked at the underground hero, both noticing how soft he was becoming since adopting Izuku but not saying anything. It was a welcoming change for someone who was usually grumpy. So, no clue at all? Midnight asked. Nope. Maybe they're being so secretive because they're dressing as us? Present Mike said. Yes, that's exactly it. Izuku is going to be Aizawa, Nijire will be me, Mirio All Might, and Tamaki will be you, Midnight drawled. That sounds kinda accurate, Aizawa answered. Then thinking changed his mind, since Mirio was already All Might and remembering the boys talk about how they never repeat costumes. At the photo op, wow Nijire, that whip looks really authentic. Where did you find such a good replica of Midnight's whip? Izuku asked, awed at the prop. Oh, but it's not a prop, my little Izukuan. Nijire purred, enjoying how her boyfriend's face was turning extremely red. It's not? Nope. So, you better be a good boy or else, cracked Nijire says as she cracks Midnight's whip, laughing while she does it, enjoying how Izuku hops into Mirio's arms, slightly frightened and unknown to her, slightly aroused. Oh, perhaps we should have chosen Nijire to dress up as someone else for this photo op, Mirio says while cradling his Izaburo, also blushing. I second that, Tamaki says while facing away. Oh, come on guys, you know I was joking. Nijire shouts. Well, you certainly act like Midnight, Izuku mumbled, fixing his capture gear, while watching Mirio fix his speakers around his neck and Tamaki adjust his cloak. Peace, you know you like it, Nijire lightly laughs, taking his blush as a yes. Yeah. Let's just get this photo done so we can get you out of that costume, Izuku says, realizing how that sounded, quickly trying to backtrack. Wait, I do. Oh, Izuku-kun, that doesn't sound like something a good boy would do, Nijire says as she cracks her whip at him. Why are you like this? Mirio and Tamaki laughing as the younger of the four cover his face with his capture gear while Nijire hugs Izuku, suffocating him with his chest. Wow, she is a really convincing Midnight, Mirio says. Indeed. Not to interrupt your, seduction thing, but why am I here again? A confused Kendo says, while trying to figure out how the hell Izuku convinced her to a photo op with his friends dressed as up-and-coming Dragoon hero, Ryukyu. The four friends looked to each other before looking back to Kendo, smiling. Because we want you to be here, they said in unison. Kendo slightly blushed at the four teens' reply, a warm feeling rushing through her at their words, but that still didn't exactly answer her question. Well, yeah, Izuku told me that, but could you maybe elaborate more? Kendo asked. Of course, milady, Mirio bowed. You see, every year, we have hero photo ops. They're very exclusive, only the closest of the closest to us can be in them, Midoriya and Mirio said, dead serious. We barely added Tamaki a few years ago and Nijire joined us about when I got into UA. Mirio answered. Yeah, very exclusive, no one else has joined our photos, Izuku said as he showed his collection of photos to Kendo, who was awed at the photos, which did indeed show that only the four of them were in each photo. Wow, and you guys? You want me to be in this year's photo, she said, touched. Of course, you have become close to our little Izaburo as well as us. Therefore, you can join in our picture, Mirio said. Wow, thank you. I'm honored, Kendo said. We know, Mirio said, smiling. To the picture. Izuku said. To the picture, the others yelled. Oh my god, this picture, it's too pure, I can't. Midnight says, clutching her chest. Shota, you officially have the purest son known to man with friends to back it up, Present Mike said while hugging Midnight. What did I do to deserve this, kid? Shota said while clutching a picture showing Izuku dressed as himself, hair dyed black with goggles, capture gear and jumpsuit to boot, Nijire as Midnight mid-whip crack, Mirio as Present Mike mid-yell, surprisingly Tamaki as Snipe with guns pointed out, and their newest addition Itsuka Kendo dressed as Ryukyu in a karate pose. Wait, how did Hato get one of my whips? Midnight asked when she realized the girl had one of her whips. I don't know, but I heard from Mirio and Tamaki they haven't seen Izuku and Nijire since they left the photo op. Present Mike said with a grin. What's so bad about that? Midnight asked Shota. He ground his teeth as he opened his mouth to answer. They left in their costumes, whip and all. Midnight didn't even try to hold back her cackling. Wow, this kid is truly the purest of the purest. Kinda jealous of you, Aizawa, All Might says, slightly wishing he had a picture like this. I knew you would be, that's why I asked Mirio and Izuku for this, Aizawa said, shoving a picture at the #1 hero before walking off. Before Toshinori could say thank you, the man was already gone, leaving him with possibly the best picture he's ever seen. These kids? Gotta say, kid does a pretty good Endeavor impression, and other one has my hair down to AT. Shaking his head at the two youngsters' weird hobby, the hero puts the picture in his wallet where hopefully no one will find out he has it. I really need to choose who will be my successor, but damn, are these two kids so freaking pure. Oi, stupid Deku. Izuku turned his head just in time to see a fist coming at his face. If not for his martial art training, he's sure he would have been heading home with a black eye. Instead, he was able to catch his old friend's arm and flip him over his shoulder, a loud thud hitting the ground, and the boy below him losing his breath. Yes, Bakugo? Izuku says as he wipes his hands. Gritting his teeth, the blonde boy gasps for air, slowly getting on his knees to face the stupid Deku in front of him. Deciding it would probably be better to swallow any insult he had to better avoid getting flipped again, he went straight to the point of why he called for his useless friend's attention. What's going on with you? Midoriya looked at the other boy curiously. Never in all his time that he has known Bakugo has the explosion user ever asked him that. Usually words which came from Bakugo to Midoriya would range in the "you're a useless Deku," "ha, you're an orphan, dumb Deku. Go die. Today must be an anomaly." What do you mean? Bakugo rolled his eyes. Of course he wouldn't get an answer right off the bat. He tortured his ex-best friend his entire life, then out of blue asks him a totally innocent question, albeit a bit hostile. I mean, why the hell have you been cleaning up Dagoba Beach? Why are you running around Japan with that weird talkative girl on your back, and how did you have such a huge growth spurt, stupid Deku? He growled. There's the Bakugo I know and don't love. Midoriya's eyes widened as Bakugo pointed out everything he was doing to get in shape for Yue, slightly surprised he was caught cleaning up the beach since he only did that during the break of dawn. As for him carrying Nijire on his back as he ran around Japan, well, he's just used to that over weights. Look, I'm just doing some training and a little community service, because that's what heroes do, Bakugo. Bakugo looked at Midoriya like he had just grown a second head. Doing something for the community and not expecting anything was a foreign concept for him, so of course Midoriya didn't expect him to understand why he would be cleaning the beach. He also didn't tell him it was because it was part of his training for Yue. What about carrying the weird girl? That's my girlfriend you're talking about, Izuku glared, earning a baffled look from Bakugo, who was surprised who could get such a hot girl to date him. Surprisingly, that was something Midoriya could agree with him on. Anyways, she helps me on my jogs around Japan. She thinks she's better than carrying a bag of weights on my bag. I disagree, but you don't really want to get on Nijire's bad side, he mumbles. Don't I know it? Bakugo grumbles, earning a laugh from Izuku. Anyways, if that's all, I have to go. I'm meeting with Nijire and the others to hang out and don't want to waste their free day, Izuku said before running off, leaving a scowling Bakugo behind. The blonde knew what was happening. The dumb Deku wasn't just training for the hell of it or giving back to the community because he was a good Samaritan. No, the damn Deku was training for Yue, and after he warned him not to go. When the hell was the idiot going to accept that he was going to be the only one to get into Yue? Tisich, not like the idiot was even gonna get past the entrance exam without a quirk. Since you're all third years, it's time for you to think seriously about your futures, the teacher began one morning. I'd pass out handouts for your future plans, but... He grabbed the stack of papers on his desk, and with a flourish, tossed them up into the air. I know you're all pretty much planning to go into the hero course, right? The classroom erupted into noise, with kids showing of their quirks. Izuku, on the other hand, simply ignored those around him to continue right in his hero analysis for the future book. Yes, you all have wonderful quirks, the teacher drawled, but you all know using them at school is against the rules. Hey, teach, Bakugo called, cutting through the noise. Don't lump me in the same group as these extras. I'm not gonna be stuck at the bottom of the barrel with the rest of these rejects. The room once more exploded into sound. This time, however, it was with his classmates yelling at the blonde for being rude. Izuku rolled his eyes at his friend's ego once again getting the best of him, causing all those around him to be angered at him. You should all shut up like the extras you are. Bakugo shouted back, taking pleasure in the way his peers got even more riled up. Ah, the teacher drawled, everybody stopping their yelling to give him their attention. The man was looking at one of the pieces of paper now scattered on his desk. It seems that you want to go to U.High, yes, Bakugo? He wants to go to that national school? It was in the top 0.2% of high schools this year. They barely accept less than half of those who apply. Exactly, Bakugo shouted, putting a stop to the chatter. That's why you guys are just a bunch of extras. He pushed himself into the air after jumping off from the back of his chair, landing on the desk to tower above the rest of the class. I aced the mock exam. I'm the only one at this school that could possibly get into U today. I'll surpass All Might and become the top hero. My name will be the highest on the list of top earners. Bakugo cried with passion, steadily getting louder and using explosive movements to match his tone. He's gotten way more dramatic. Izuku couldn't help but grimace at his former friend. While he did have a powerful quirk, he didn't have the attitude of a hero. No hero would insult others whose dreams were also being a hero. Yes, Izuku would agree that some of his classmates weren't exactly suited for hero work, but to outright crush their dreams wasn't something a hero did. If he truly wants to be like All Might, then he needs to get off his high horse and start acting like a hero, starting with an attitude adjustment. The teacher, used to his students' antics, spent a moment shuffling through some other papers, before something caught his eye. Oh, apparently Midoriya is aiming for you out of 2, that's surprising. All around him was the sound of laughter, his former friends or classmates laughing at him, thinking he wouldn't have a chance in hell at making it into the prestigious hero school. Izuku didn't care, they could laugh all they want because he knew the truth. After years of training with his big bro, he's practically ready for what's to come. When the entrance exam comes, he'll be the one proving to everyone how wrong they are to laugh. Bakugo slammed his hands on the quirkless wannabe hero desk, not at all surprising Izuku since he expected this reaction once he found out he was applying. Are you seriously gonna apply to UA after I told you not to? You're just a quirkless DU who couldn't even make it to the general ed course. Bakugo, we both know that's not true, and even if I was quirkless UA, I'd still have a better chance of getting into UA than you with that attitude. So again, regardless of whether I have a quirk or not, I will apply and get in. Deku. After class was let out, Izuku began to pack up his things before getting stopped by Bakugo and his lackeys. A hand on his shoulder preventing him from moving any further. Look Deku, I want my story to be where I am the only one from our year to be allowed into UA, and I can't do that with you applying. He put his hand in Midoriya's shoulders, smoke emanating from where his palm was on his shoulder, holding a smirk. Here's some advice. Don't even try. Continue being a useless Deku elsewhere where no one notices and let me be the hero. Leaving behind Izuku, who was angered at his words but otherwise ignored his taunts. After the confrontation with Bakugo, Izuku was seen walking through a tunnel, making his way home with a frown on his face. Geez, what a jerk. Whatever, it doesn't matter, I'm gonna keep my promise and make Mirio proud by getting into UA with my POW. Unfortunately, because of Izuku's loud shout, he didn't notice the manhole behind him open and the sludge monster slink out of it. Oblivious to the danger, Izuku continued his walk home through the tunnel. A medium-sized skin suit. Yes, you'll do just fine. The thing said, its voice just as grotesque as its face. After finally zoning back into his surroundings, Izuku paled at seeing the giant sludge monster heading straight for him. At first, he tried to run away only for it to send a tendril of sludge towards him and reel him back. It's okay, kid, it'll be over soon, so how about you stop fighting it? I need to get out of here before he arrives. Izuku was clawing at the slime on his face, trying to get it of him without luck. Is this really how I die? Izuku thought as he started to suffocate. Is this how it ends, the world getting blurry as he slowly gave up? You're my Izaburo. And we're gonna be the best heroes ever. Izuku's eyes widened as he remembered Mirio's words to him all those years ago. He had fallen after a gruesome exercise that Mirio had put him through. As much as he wanted to give up, he didn't want to make the person he looked up to disappointed in him. Izaburo, are you all right there? You look a little tired? Yeah, this is just a lot of work for me, Izuku said sheepishly. Mirio looked at the smaller boy before him, minutes passing before he finally spoke. Bahaha, well, why didn't you say something sooner, Izaburo? This just means I'll have to adjust the workout regime, so we don't overwork your body. The 9-year-old boy smiled up at his idol with tears in his eyes, in disbelief that someone could be so caring. I still don't get it, Mirio. Why are you helping me so much? Izuku said softly. The older boy smiled softly at his younger friend, patting his head. 'Cause you're my Izaburo, and we're gonna be the best heroes ever. Really? Izuku said silently, wiping his eyes. Yup. Izuku's eyes widened. That's right, as he clenched his hand on the slime. How could I have forgotten that? If I'm gonna prove that's true, then I need to show Mirio that I can stand by his side as one of the best heroes, like him. Slowly Izuku began to exert flames out of his throat, causing the sludge monster to shoot out of his throat in pain from the high-temperature flames. Ah, shit kid, you burned me, I'll get you for that. I have to become the best hero in the world. Right before he had to use his quirk again, the one hero he didn't think would show up, popped up from the same manhole the sludge monster did. Do not fear, for I am here. Oh, thank God. Texas Smayawawash. Young Midoriya, wake up. Izuku, not even realizing he had passed out, was woken up by his face getting slapped. Letting his eyes adjust took some time, but once he could see clearly, he almost fainted in seeing the #1 hero in front of him. Oh? Thank goodness, I was getting worried. Holy crap, you're All Might? Izuku yelled as he jumped to his feet. That I am young Midoriya, and might I say you have a wonderful quirk for you to handle the sludge monster. All Might said, turning around. Oh, wow, thanks a lot, I had help in training it. Wait a second, how do you know my name? Crap, I forgot he didn't know who I am. Oh well, I saw your school ID when I rifled through your school badge to see who you were. Had to make sure you were okay and all that. Anyways, I must be off. All Might said quickly while holding 2 soda bottles filled with the sludge villain. Nice save, All Might. Oh, that makes sense. Hold on a sec, can I get your auto? Wait, he already signed it. Wow, Mirio is gonna freak. Izuku froze. Yup, so thanks for the help, my boy. Now I'll be going. All Might said before shooting off. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I talked to All Might and got his autograph. Izuku thought. While Izuku continued his endless train of thought, he failed to notice where his legs were taking him. I can't believe Deku is gonna try to be a hero. How stupid can he be to think a quirkless guy like him can get into a place like you? The winged minion says. I know, it's pathetic, right? The other one said. Katsuki didn't say anything, still pissed off Deku was trying to ruin his origin story. I'll kill you if I see you at your Deku. Hey, Bakugo, you okay? The other minion said, pulling out a cigarette and lighting it. Katsuki turned around in anger and swatted the cigarette away with an explosion. What the hell did I tell you about smoking that shit around me? And not T2. If I get a mark like that, my chances at you are gone. Hey, why don't we head to the arcade? That'll be fun, the winged minion said, trying to placate him. Katsuki took a few deep breaths before grunting. Fine. However, before they could get far, a chilling voice stopped the 3 boys. Ooh, a medium-sized skin suit with a powerful quirk, excellent. A disgusting voice said, accompanied by the sound of slush. Izuku continued to stare in awe at All Might's autograph, unaware of the area he was walking to. Boom. Whoa, what's happening? A villain attack, that's what? A villain attacks? Looking up, he realized he was in a crowd. Hey, isn't it that sludge villain from before? Yeah, wasn't All Might chasing him? Izuku froze. But how did he get out if he was with All Might? Damn it, I can't get to him, can anyone else? Death Arms said. I'm too busy with this fire. Backdraft shouted. I can't do anything either. This fire is too crazy for me to go anywhere near it. Kamui Woods yelled while running and carrying citizens to safety. A one-way street, my only weakness. Milady said. Why are these heroes just standing around? Izuku said, looking around. Why aren't the heroes doing anything? A random crowd watcher asks. I just asked that, Izuku mumbled. Because he keeps letting off explosions? Another answered. Izuku froze when he heard that and slowly looked at the sludge villain. The hostage he has is letting explosions off and setting everything on fire. The hostage is Kaken. He needs help. Kaken needs help. Kid. Stop. Get back here. Death Arms yelled to the green messy-haired boy as he ran past the brigade towards Katsuki. Wait, what? Izuku's eyes widened when he realized what was happening. Why am I running? He thought. I can't stop my legs. Izuku thought, immediately cursing whatever was causing him to do this. How could I have let those bottles slip from my pants? If only I was faster. All Might growled. Looking away from the scene, a tall, skinny blonde clenched his fists, agonizing over his failure of fully capturing the sludge monster. That is until he sees Midoriya running into the burning alley where the sludge monster was causing the flames to move, unnoticed by everyone else but him. I knew I chose right, All Might thought, breaking out into a smile. He is my successor. The villain said, shooting slime tentacles at Izuku only for him to barrel roll out of the way and continue running to Kaken. What's that kid doing? Okay, you've trained for this. Not technically, but you kinda have, Izuku thought while running. Izuku continued running towards Bakugo and the sludge monster, using his quirk to stop the flames from continuing to spread, keeping them contained to the alley. What the fuck are you doing? Bakugo screamed, taking that moment of distraction to break free of the sludge and breath. Kaken, I couldn't just sit there and watch you die. His face one of determination as he realized what needed to be done. Forgive me, Mom. What the hell does that kid think he's doing? That villain's gonna kill him. Kamui Wood says. Hell, if I know, but we still can't get to him with those flames surrounding them. Death Arms yelled. Everyone in the crowd was in shock as they witnessed the green-haired boy run at the hostage, barely dodging the sludge tendrils. Then once he was close, get in some sort of screaming match with the blonde boy. They were sure the bushy-haired kid was going to get taken hostage too, until they saw emerald flames ignite on the boy's fist. Izuku followed this by cocking one arm back and igniting his elbow to give him more momentum as he shot through the sludge monster with his flames, freeing Bakugo. Power! I'll kill you for that. The half-destroyed sludge monster yells, forgetting about its hostage and going towards Izuku, who was standing in the same spot with his fist out, breathing heavily from the amount of power he had used. How the hell did Deku do that? He's not supposed to have a quirk. Bakugo growled. I really am pathetic, aren't I? All Might said as he grabbed Izuku and Katsuki out of harm's way. Letting you boys do all the work while I sit back and relax. Some hero I am. Screw you, All Might. The villain said while trying to send an attack but failing due to the damage Midoriya had done. Detroit Smaewawash, blasting the slime apart before changing the direction of the punch upwards, causing a rain cloud overhead to form. It's raining. Holy crap, he changed the weather with a punch. The crowd cheered for All Might, with him giving them a victory pose before looking back at Izuku, who was staring at his steaming fist in disappointment. Worry not, young Midoriya, your mother would be proud. Once Izuku was finally able to go home, he was visibly exhausted. Not only did Kaken get praised for his quirk, but he got chastised for his help, and he broke his mom's promise. Whatever, all I care about is what Mirio will think, Izuku says to himself. Deku! Damn it, how does Bakugo even know where I live? Izuku thought before turning around to see a very red Katsuki. Katsuki was breathing heavily, stomping his way all the way to the greenette's face. What the hell was that? You don't have a quirk? You're a quirkless Deku. Izuku rolled his eyes even as Bakugo continued to rant at how impossible it was for Izuku to gain a quirk so late in life. I was never quirkless, Bakugo. I told you when we were little, and I've told you since then I had one. I just promised my mom to never use it until I got into UA and was training to be a proper hero. Izuku said, you just ignored me and thought otherwise. Bakugo growled at Deku, angry because he was right. He did tell him for years he had a quirk, But he never believed him since he never showed his power. He's whatever you're. Still a Deku. And I'm gonna be the #1 hero, got it? Izuku's sweat dropped before turning and going to walk home. Whatever, not like that was a real threat. I am here, All Might said as he slid into Midoriya way. All Might, what are you doing here? Izuku shouted, shocked to see his hero again so soon. Bikabi, oh my god, are you alright? Wait, you're not All Might, you're Mr. Yagi. Izuku yelled. Actually, I'm both. All Might is my hero persona and Toshinori Yagi my civilian persona. This reason I'm like this is because of an injury that occurred 5 years ago. 5 years ago. Was that the toxic chainsaw fight? Nah, guy couldn't touch me even if he tried. No, this was something else. Due to that I can only hold my form for 3 hours a day, All Might explained. Izuku was horrified from this information but kept it hidden, not wanting to worry the symbol of peace. While I'm honored you're telling me, Mr. Yagi, I have to ask why? Izuku asked, confused. All Might nodded, glad to be back on track of his originally mission for meeting the boy. Tell me, young Midoriya, when you ran to save that boy, your legs, they moved on their own, didn't they? Izuku tapped his chin, trying to remember the feeling. A rush of how fast he was running yet not being able to stop himself coming back. Yeah, it was really weird because I didn't even think about it, just kinda happened. All Might smiled wide before saying his next words. You see, young man, the best heroes fight for what's right, they rescue without a second thought, but what a lot of them have in common is that when someone was in danger, their legs moved on their own, including myself. Izuku started to look confused as he told him these things. You ran headfirst into danger when no one else would? Izuku nodded, remembering all the heroes who said there was no way they could help. There's always a way. Young man, I want you to be my successor. What do you mean your successor? Young Midoriya, many people try to guess what my quirk is by saying it's some type of strength quirk, when in truth it's the opposite. My quirk is called One for All. It's transferable from each successor to the next, gathering that power and growing stronger as it moves on. And I want you to be the next one to get it. What? Seriously? Yes, seriously. You embody what it means to be a true hero. Not to mention everything you've gone through that led up to this moment. Izuku's heart was bursting with joy over his hero's words, but deep down he felt like something was wrong with this moment. As if he didn't truly deserve it. So, my boy, what do you say? I can't believe All Might is asking me to be his successor. This is amazing, but am I truly worthy? I have to call Mirio. No, I have to call Aizawa-sensei. All Might's sweat dropped at his hopeful successor. Probably should have told him this was a secret. Midoriya, my boy, I'm sorry but you can't tell anyone what I am offering you. Izuku stopped his muttering at his hero's words. Not being able to tell his best friend and adoptive father was, in his opinion, a deal breaker. He couldn't accept something as big as All Might's quirk without at least asking what they thought. With everything they've done for him, it was the least he could do. Looking to skinny Might, Izuku braced himself for the hero's reply. All Might, sir, as honored as I am that you would offer me the opportunity to be your successor, I can't in good conscience accept. I'm sorry. All Might was speechless to hear his ideal successor rejecting his offer. It was a blow to the gut, seeing as he was searching for so long for him. Young Midoriya, why you would reject an offer such as this? Izuku took a deep breath. I just feel that it would be wrong of me to accept such a power without telling Aizawa, the man who willingly adopted me after only knowing me for a year. And Mirio, he's been by my side for almost 8 years. Not telling him would be a betrayal to our friendship. Not to mention, even if I didn't tell Mirio and the others about OFA, they would still suspect something was up since my quirk is pyrokinesis. It's just, I know this is a lot, All Might, sir, but it's the truth. Bowing to the older man, Izuku began his trek home, leaving behind a speechless All Might. Toshinori Yagi had no idea how to respond to what Izuku had told him. Once he realized he was about to let the perfect successor slip through his fingers, he finally got himself together. Wait, young Midoriya, please wait. Izuku was a few feet away when he heard All Might yell out for him. Turning, he saw his hero reaching out for him with a small smile. Izuku, Midoriya, you truly have the heart of a hero. Become my successor and I will allow you to tell those you deem trustworthy, he smiled. Tears ran down Izuku's face as he listened to All Might's words. I accept, All Might. Just what I wanted to hear. Now then, when should I expect you to tell Aizawa and the others? He asked. Izuku tapped his chin in thought. The sooner the better would be preferable. However, he knew Aizawa and the others were rather busy given it was the middle of the school year and they were crammed with their exams and internships. Then, as if a light bulb lit up in his head, Izuku told All Might his plan. Today is Friday, All. Please call me Yagi when I'm like this, he smiled. Oh yeah, sure. Well, anyways, since today is Friday, Mirio and the others will be coming over to my place for Katsudon, which makes it the perfect time to tell them. All Might beamed at his successor. Getting things done as soon as you can, my boy. I like how you think. Well, let's go then. We have some news to relay to everyone. And so, the two went on their way to Izuku's house. To say Aizawa was shocked to see Toshinori Yagi on his doorsteps with his adopted son would be putting it lightly. He was flabbergasted, bewildered, mind-boggled, any other word which conveyed confusion. Deep down he had a bad feeling about this. All Might, can I ask why you're with Izuku? Unfortunately, before the hero could answer, a hyper-teen popped up behind Aizawa, eyes wide at the sight of the number one hero. All Might. Oh my gosh, it's All Might. Mirio, Tenki, come here, Izukuans with All Might. Nijire yelled. Izuku's lip twitched at his girlfriend's tactfulness. Oh ho, look at our little Izubro making friends with the number one hero of Japan. What an honor to be in your presence, sir. Mirio said, popping up from the ground. Bah, thank you. All Might bellowed in surprise at a boy appearing from the ground. Holy crap, All Might, Tamaki whispered from his corner. Aizawa, finally gathering his wits, moved to the front of the rowdy teens. So again I ask, why are you with Izuku? Yes, well, take it away, Midoriya. Izuku stared at his new mentor in betrayal. Traitor, he mumbled. Well, Dad, first food. Rolling his eyes at his son's blatant change of subject before bringing the food out. As everyone finished serving themselves and dug in, Aizawa stared straight at the sweating hero. We're eating. Now spill. Aizawa! Izuku yelled. Aizawa glared at the boy, half-heartedly. But before I get started, I want the three of you, looking to Nijire, Mirio, and Tamakichi, to swear what I reveal to you will not be repeated outside of this house. The three teens looked to each other before shrugging and nodding to him. Yeah, okay, we promise, sir. The four teens saluted. All Might smiled at the teen spirit. Well then, first off let me formally introduce myself. Deflating, All Might shrinks into his true form and waves. You all know me as All Might. My actual name is Toshinori Yagi. The three teens fell over looking at the skinny man who now looked on the verge of death. What happened to All Might? Imposter! Run, Izuku will protect you. Enough! Shota yelled, turning to two teens huddled on top of Izuku, who was trying his best not to topple over, and Mirio in front of him with his arms in an X formation. Yagi, explain. Sighing, he goes through the story of All for One and the fight which occurred 5 years ago, giving him the stomach injury. Wait, so you can only go out for 3 hours a day to perform heroic duties? Nijire shouted. You have a transferable quirk that has been passed down through 7 people? Mirio yells. You are quirkless? Tamaki whispered. Indeed, and because of all this I have been looking for a successor for the past year. All Might reveals, someone who can take my place once my power is gone. The three teens' eyes widened as they slowly put 2 and 2 together, looking at Izuku. And what exactly do you want with my son? Shota said emotionlessly. Izuku's heart warming at Aizawa regarding him as his son. And here was the hard part, he thought. All Might knew it was probably going to be difficult asking his friend for permission to have his son be his successor, but he came this far, no turning back now. Shota, I'm sure you already knew this, but your son has the makings of a true hero. His actions today only proved this. Aizawa's glare hardened on Izuku. Yeah, no kidding, which reminds me, you're grounded for a month. I'm grounded? Yeah, what you did was incredibly reckless, regardless of whether you were saving someone. Not to mention breaking quirk laws. Tisk, shame Izuku, we expected better. Mirio said, shaking his head, although his thumbs up to the boy showed he wasn't disappointed in his little bro. Izuku simply nodded, not wanting to get in even more trouble. letting All Might continue what he was saying. All Might coughed into his hand before continuing. Yes, as I was saying, Izuku was incredibly courageous, and it was his actions that gave me the final push to choose him as my successor. Shota, I want to pass down Owafe to Izuku. Aizawa ran a hand down his face, unsure of what to say. While he knew Izuku had already probably accepted, he was still a bit on edge of whether it was safe for him to do so. You said his actions today was the push for you to choose him as your successor. Does that mean there was someone else who you had in mind or something which was stopping you? Aizawa asked, hoping to change the subject. All Might chuckled, not expecting this question. Well, actually yes. There was one other person I had in mind, by recommendation of my old sidekick. However, Izuku was my choice. Who was it? Izuku asked, curious as to who else might have been worthy for OFA. Oh well, does it really matter? All Might asked, not wanting to make things awkward with the one in question sitting right beside his successor. Not really, but we're all just a bit curious, Mirio added. Yeah. Who else was good enough to be a candidate? They had to be really strong and brave and have a heart of a hero like my Izuku-kun if they were even considered, right? Well, yes. Look, just answer the question, otherwise these three will continue to bug you. Aizawa said. If you really want to know, then they're right beside you, Izuku. All Might smiled. Izuku looked to his right and saw his big bro sitting right next to him with a big smile on his face. At first Izuku thought he would get angry or maybe look a bit disappointed that Izuku had gotten OFA instead of him, but instead, like always, he surprised him, but acting in an entirely different way. Izubero, can you believe Sir thought I was worthy enough for All Might's quirk? Mirio said, teary-eyed. Bear hugging the young boy, Mirio continued to spout compliments about the two. We're gonna be the best pro heroes ever, aren't we, Izubero? With All Might by your side and Night Eye by mine, there's no way we won't be the best superhero duo ever. Izuku wasn't sure whether to cry or laugh at his, at this point, adopted brother's antics. Yeah, definitely, Miri bro. Wiping his tears, Izuku looked to Mirio before quietly asking, so you're not mad I got Ohe even though you were also being considered? Mirio grinned at the broccoli-haired boy before laughing. Nah, besides mastering my quirk was hard enough. Can you imagine trying to master All Might's as well as mine? But don't worry, I'll help you every step of the way. You will? Of course, you'll need help managing all that power. What's that all about? All Might asked. Aizawa sighed. Honestly, I don't even know. They've been doing that since I've met them. All Might turned to the teens for answers. Oh yeah, Mirio says that before every attack he does, so does Izuku-kun. It's like how you say smash, they say power. Nijire answered, smiling fondly at the two boys wrestling. Indeed, if I didn't know any better, I'd say it powers up their moves, Tamaki whispered from his corner. So, I assume you're alright with Izuku accepting my power? Not like I can stop the kid now. Aizawa drawled. But I swear if that kid comes home not looking how he does now, you'll pay for it. He growled. You got it? Good. So how do we do this, All Might? Well, my boy, one for all needs a proper vessel before it can be used, otherwise your limbs will explode. What? All Might hurried to backtrack, not wanting Izuku to back out of being his successor. But don't worry. Whatever you've been doing has made you more than ready, I swear. Izuku began to calm down, eyeing his mentor skeptically. When he didn't see any signs of deceit, he nodded his head. Thank the Mirio and Midoriya road to you. A workout plan. Izuku said proudly. The what now? Izuku pulled out a stack of paper and handed it to All Might, who leafed through it impressed, before handing it back. Not bad, I even noticed you added martial arts to the mix. You truly planned everything out. I chose well for a successor. All Might yelled, before deflating back to his civilian persona. Midoriya laughed, nodding his head. Yeah, well, Mirio and I made a promise to get into you together and I plan to keep it. So what now? All Might shrugged. Now's time for the ceremony. Plucking a piece of hair off his head, All Might handed it to the boy. Eat this. What the heck, why? Izuku gagged. One for all has to be passed down through some sort of DNA. I figured this would be easier than blood or spit. Izuku grumbled about how unhygienic this was, but agreed it was better than eating spit. Oh my god, did you really use a scented shampoo before coming here? I thought it might make the hair taste better. All Might said sheepishly. Izuku shivered as he felt the hair go down his throat. Do you at least have water to wash it down? All Might's face dropped, not even thinking about giving his successor something to wash down his hair. No I don't. Sorry. Seriously. Geez, fine, well what do we do now? All Might beamed at the young man. Now we wait. It'll take a bit for you to digest the hair, so in a few hours we should be ready to test out OFA and see how well it meshes with your power. For now, you can go do whatever you want but come back in about say 3 hours to test it out. Izuku nodded his head, before going to visit a few of his favorite pro-hero teachers. Ragdoll Jr. What are you doing here? I thought we weren't seeing you until Friday at Dadzawa's. Midnight cooed as she suffocated Izuku between her chest. Izuku mumbled. Present Mike chuckled at the young teen. Ever since Aizawa adopted the kid, him and Midnight had decided to be honorary aunt and uncle, spoiling the kid whenever they could. Not that the kid didn't deserve it, but it helped that they received a photo of him and his friends dressed as Eraserhead, Midnight, and himself. Honestly, kids too pure for the world. Yeah, listener, not that we don't enjoy your visits, he added. I'm doing some extra training but thought I'd just drop by to visit, he said smiling. Midnight and Present Mike looked away from the bright smile. Too pure? After sitting down to speak with the two teachers, Izuku decided it was probably about time to head back to All Might for his training. Once back to the training room, he was surprised to see his friends and girlfriend there too. Mirio, Nijire, Tamaki, what are you guys doing here? Moral support, they yelled as they jumped to hug the younger boy. Really? All Might laughed at the teens before answering truthfully, yes and no. They wouldn't stop asking Aizawa for updates on you, so we decided to let them watch you train. Izuku clenched his chest, holding back his tears. You guys, thank you. Well, now that we have pleasantries done with, ready to get started? Yeah, so how do I activate One for All? All Might stared at Izuku, slightly sweating. Well, I'm not sure. You see, One for All came to me quite easily, so I didn't really need that much training from my mentor. Izuku blanched at his mentor. He was really started to have some second thoughts about this. But then again, if he wanted to stand by Mirio's side, he had to be the best, and being trained by All Might was a good step forward. What about a technique when you use One for All? Mirio offered. All Might puffed back up into his original form at Mirio's idea. Why yes I do. When using my quirk, I usually clench my butt cheeks and yell smash. The three older teens, and Izuku held back laughing at the symbol of peace's explanation for how he used his power, looking in awe as he punched through almost every practice dummy in the training room. Izuku stayed silent, rubbing his chin, thought. I could probably use the same method as All Might if I didn't already have my original quirk. But obviously I must combine my quirk with One for All, which means just trying to activate it with a punch won't work. If I can activate my quirk from any part of my body, then shouldn't it be the same for One for All? All Might said One for All was a strength enhancement quirk, so does that mean it could enhance my flames? What if instead of trying to punch I try to... Does he do that a lot? All Might asked, watching as his successor continued to unravel how the best way to activate One for All. Oh yeah, all the time. You won't believe how many times we've been kicked out of places because of his little mumbling habit, Nijire said with a fond look on her face. Yup, my little Izabro loves to overanalyze things, Mirio laughed. I got it, Izuku yelled. Within moments of him announcing it, Izuku shut his eyes and took a deep breath. Slowly taking a step back, his eyebrows furrowing as he began to summon One for All. Flame on. Is that really how he activates his flames? All Might choked. Only when he's going full flame, Mirio said sheepishly. It took a few minutes for the others to finally notice anything, and even before that they thought it was just a fluke given that his flames were the same color as the lightning arcs emitting off his body. But when their little green bean opened his eyes, that's when they noticed it. Green lightning was surrounding his body, mixing in with his emerald flames, which were burning darker than usual. He did it! Mirio shouted. Attaboy! All Might shouted. That's my Izukuin! Nijire cheered. Tamaki mumbled. Smiling at his family cheering him on, he took a deep breath, feeling the power of One for All rushing through his veins. Letting himself get used to the feeling before doing anything, Izuku decided to try and move while having One for All activated. Albeit a bit painful at first, he continued to move until it felt natural, stopping at a certain point. Powie! The 4 other occupants stared in surprise at the amount of power that had been released. The blast that he had shot was powerful enough to melt several cement blocks. Izuku stared in awe at the amount of power he had just used, his mind going crazy with the possibilities he could use of his pyrokinesis. If that was how enhanced his flames were with OFA, Izuku can't wait to see what he can do with the telekinesis portion of his quirk. As it turns out though, the adrenaline rush he felt from having achieved this was the only thing stopping Izuku from feeling his destroyed arm. Whoa! Did you see that, Tamaki? Izuku just destroyed those cement blocks. 1 second they were there, the next poof they were gone. Nijire shouted. Yes, I did. I was right next to you. He whispered. Amazing, you practically mastered one for all in a day. All Might shouted. Izuku held back tears at his mentor's words, as well as the backlash of pain he was feeling. At least my arm didn't explode. Really, that's awesome. He croaked, but All Might, I think I might have overdone it, Izuku said before passing out. Immediately the 3 teens ran to their friend panicking, All Might more so than them because of Aizawa's words. Oh god, I'm going to die, he's going to kill me. Hurry Mirio, get Izuku to Recovery Girl before Aizawa finds us. Roger that, All Might sensei. Immediately Mirio picked up Izuku and began running to the nurse's office with Nijire and Tamaki on his heels. All Might went to follow, but not before running into Aizawa. All Might, you want to tell me why I just saw my son passed out in Mirio's arms with his arm a complete mess, he growled. Oh wow, well, showed a funny story. Well, not exactly funny, but look, Izuku. For once Aizawa will admit in being a complete fool and falling for All Might's words. When hearing that Izuku might have been behind him, he turned around only to see no one there, and turning back around and seeing the hero gone. He only got angrier at the #1 hero that day. Well, my boy, if I were to guess what happened, I'd say your output of OFA was too high. Izuku stared at All Might confused. He thought he handled the power quite well, but then looking at his bandaged arm he seconds guess himself. What I mean is, while you were using 100%, your body right now can only use around 3%. Quite a feat all things considered. For now, I suggest you practice working with that output amount, so you don't end up in the infirmary again and I don't end up in trouble with Aizawa, he chuckled. Izuku understood better now. He might have made his body a proper vessel, but he still needed better training. Okay, All Might, I understand, he said, grinning. I know you do, and so long as you continue the Mirio and Midoriya road to Yuta plan, you'll be more than ready for the entrance exams in a few months. A week later. Power! Izuku grit his teeth as he let loose another stream of fire towards his opponent with a small percentage of 1 for all infused. When the smoke died down and he heard no noise, he assumed that he had finally won a match. Izuku said. Power! Brew! Izuku went flying into the gym wall, eyes turning into swirls as Mirio stood up from his spot in the ground. Game, set and match, Izabro. And no if'er, you're practically untouchable, Izuku gasped as he gently pried himself from the wall. Haha, not true, Izabro. Despite the control I have on my quirk, one misstep and I'm done for. You've gotten good handling with your quirk as well as being able to combine OFA with it, but it just so happens that I've gotten better, Mirio says, smiling, putting a hand out to lift the younger boy. Izuku sighed, not so much sad he lost against his big bro, but a bit disappointed at how far he was from Mirio's level. Looking at the Tin copy, he sees that he never even got a hit on him, while Mirio at least got several on him. However, the smile on Mirio's face helped bring his spirits up, making him forget about his loss. He truly is amazing. He's right, you know. Bar you, Izuku, I don't think I've seen anyone work as hard as Mirio to master their quirk. Just keep training and I'm sure you'll land a hit eventually, Aizawa smirked, entering the conversation. Izuku smiled at Mirio, nodding, a determined glint in his eye. Yeah, you can bet on it. The day before the entrance exam, Nijire had decided to take Izuku out to eat for a special date. Izuku had happily accepted, feeling a day off from all his hectic training was much needed. Isn't this nice, Izuku, just you and me? And me, Mirio piped in before going back to his food. And me, Tamami whispered before going back to his food. Yeah, and Tamaki and Mirio, out here enjoying the day before your entrance exam. Could you even think of a better date? Izuku couldn't help but laugh at his eccentric girlfriend's question. Is this a date? Mirio and Tamaki didn't even try to hold back their laughter, while Nijire hugged Izuku for being so adorable. Of course, it is Izaburo. Just think of Tamaki and I as the chaperones of the date so we can make sure Nijire doesn't try anything naughty towards you. Mirio joked. What? Why me? What about Izuku? Why aren't you protecting my virtue? Nijire whined. Nijire, please? Fine. Day of the entrance exam. Okay, you're sure you have everything? Aizawa asked. Izuku ruffled through his bag, double and triple checking it to make sure he had all his supplies for the test. Yup, everything I need is here. Mirio and the others helped me pack last night, he smiled. Indeed we did. Mirio said, popping up from the ground. Jesus Christ, Togata, what the hell did I say about popping up like that? Aizawa yelled. You said that he shouldn't do it and that it scares the hell out of you, Nijire said as she entered the front door. What the? Hadu, how the hell did you just come in? The door was locked. Nijire rocked back and forth on her feet, hoping to look innocent before answering, I have a spare key, Aizawa-sensei. At this point the UA teacher was speechless at his students' actions. Looking around he noticed one person missing and dreading how he was going to enter. Hadu, explain how you have a spare key and why, he sighed. The older girl simply stared at the UA teacher before shrugging. Running a hand down his face he accepted the answer knowing he wasn't going to get anything else. Fine, whatever. Where's Tamaki and Kendo? Over here, sensei. The boy whispered from his corner. I was with Nijire, but I guess you didn't notice, he said downtrodden. And Kendo headed over to UA because she didn't want to get in trouble with you for breaking in, even though we technically aren't. Nijire scoffed. Oh my god, you know what, I don't have time for this, and Tamaki, I'm sorry I didn't notice you. It's alright. Nijire, return that key before you leave. Maybe. Fine. And Mirio, please stop entering my apartment naked. Of course, sir. Aizawa let out a breath, he didn't realizing he was holding after the three teens replied, then looked to his son. Izuku, don't you have an entrance exam to get to? Izuku nodded his head vehemently, remembering that he did in fact. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. And that's why we're here. To remind you, Mirio announced while pulling his pants up. Yeah. And I couldn't let my Izuku-an go take a very important test without a good luck kiss. Nijire said, pounding her fist into her hand. I mean you could, Aizawa mumbled, starting to second guess whether he was ready for fatherhood. I'm here for moral support, Tamaki whispered. Izuku blushed at his friend's actions. Thanks guys, this means a lot. I'll see you after the test is over, okay? Okay babe, but first this. Before he could ask what she was referring to, Nijire quickly pulled him into her arms for a kiss, letting him go when someone cleared their throat. Test now, Aizawa says, rolling his eyes at his son's blushing face. Right, yes. I'll go now. Bye guys. Good luck, Izuku's Tamaki whispered. Remember to use max power. Mirio shouted, stifling his laughter at his little brother's face. Izuku paused in his steps, turning around with a bright smile. Max power. Turning back to head to his exam.